Chapter 118. Rongjin did not have an easy time these few days. Killing one another and fighting for power was one of the things that an emperor feared the most. Emperor Zhou had also taken his throne back then, so he was even more sensitive and suspicious about this matter. Of course, he knew that this was an unavoidable fight in the royal family, but he did not expect Rongjin to be the first to make a move. Back then, the Emperor Emeritus delayed appointing the crown prince, causing Rongjin and his brothers to kill one another. Hence, when it was his turn, he appointed the empress's eldest son, Rongjin, as the crown prince as he was worried that the same thing would happen again. However, things did not go as he wished, and Rongjin really disappointed him. Emperor Zhou could not figure it out. Rongjin was the crown prince, and his status was noble. He had an advantage over the others. As long as the others did not rebel, this position would be his in the future. But why couldn't he keep it in? Emperor Zhou did not publicize this matter and ordered for the news to be sealed. Nobody was to leak it. Then he ordered Rongjin to reflect on his mistakes in the residence and took away his right to supervise the 6 departments. Rongjin sent the memorials that were sent to Crown Prince Mansion back to the palace overnight and placed them on the table in the imperial study. Rongjin knew that his father did not trust him anymore. Compared to everything else, this was his greatest loss. If his father still could not trust him in the future, then Rongjin did not dare to think too much as he knew that he was in the wrong. He could only try his best to admit his mistake and express his attitude in hopes of reducing his father's anger. This was the biggest loss he had suffered ever since he became the crown prince, but he could not take revenge on the initiator. Rongjin felt very aggrieved, but he did not dare to vent. His father must be secretly watching him now, so what could he do? After much thought, he could only lock himself in the study and not come out for 2 days. On the morning of the 3rd day, Chu Xianmin brought soup over as usual. As expected, she could not even enter the door. Chu Xianmin could not keep her face straight. On the first day she married into Crown Prince Mansion, the Crown Prince was summoned to the palace overnight by His Majesty. After he came back, he went straight to the study, and she could not even see him. In the past 3 days, the servants in the residence had said many nasty things. Many people saw that she was not favored, so their attitude was very presumptuous. Today, she had to fight for herself no matter what. However, Chu Xianmin knew that it would not do her any good if she forced her way in. Therefore, she suppressed the humiliation in her heart and spoke to the tightly shut door. "Your Highness, Chuanbei snow pear soup is here for you. Drink some when you have time. Don't tire yourself out." In addition, Min Min has a request. After resting for a period of time, Min Min's body has recovered a lot. What do you think about going back to school tomorrow? If she became the crown princess, she would naturally be too lazy to go back. But now that her appearance had been destroyed, this was the only path she could take. As long as she still had power, the crown prince would not go too far with her. Therefore, even if Chu Luiyue, whom she hated the most, was in the academy, she had to go back. After she finished speaking, Chu Xianmin waited outside the door anxiously. After some time, she heard Rongjin's reply. "It's fine if you want to return to the academy, but you're not allowed to live in the academy anymore. You have to return to the manor every day. Also, pay attention to your identity at all times. You definitely can't embarrass me." Chu Xianmin felt as if she had been pardoned. "Thank you, Your Highness." The next day, Chu Ning left in a hurry early in the morning. Chu Luiyue guessed that the crown prince's trouble this time was more serious than expected. Thinking of this, she was in a good mood and did not rest at home. Instead, she walked out of the house and went straight to Zhenbao Pavilion. Once her figure appeared in Zhenbao Pavilion, a sharp-eyed page boy ran to the back hall to inform Yan Gu. Yan Gu, who was busy counting the goods inside, could not be bothered anymore. He rushed to the front hall, his face full of eagerness and enthusiasm, but he did not lose his respect. "Miss Luyu, what brings you here?" "The academy is closed today. I'm here to take a look." "Hee, that's great. Take a look and see if there's anything you like." Yan Gu rubbed his hands and looked expectant as if he would immediately give the item to Chu Luiyue as long as she said which one she liked. Chu Luiyue hurriedly waved her hands. No. Second Master Yan, you're too polite. I haven't used many of the things you gave me previously. I'm here today to ask you for a few people. Yen Gu was puzzled. You want people? What do you intend to do? Chu Liyue's lips curled slightly. Clearing the accounts. Chu residence, main hall. The great elder sat high above. There was a stack of account books on the table beside him. In front of him stood a few people who looked like stewards. At this moment, they were all looking down nervously. The room was very quiet. Only the sound of the great elder flipping through the account books could be heard. Every time he flipped through a book, the great elder's face turned uglier. By the end, his expression had completely darkened. He slammed the account books on the table. What's going on? In this half a year, not only did the shops under the Chu family not make a profit, they even made a loss. What are you doing? The stewards were so frightened that they trembled. One of them wiped the sweat off his forehead and murmured with a bitter expression, "That's right. Great elder, we have no choice. This year's harvest is not good. We can't get back the rent from the land, and business is not good either. There really isn't much income. And the residence's expenses have always been huge. That's why there's less income and more expenditure, resulting in a huge loss. Weren't there a few shops that were making a profit before? Why aren't there any accounts for those shops?" The great elder flipped through the account books in frustration. The stewards looked at each other in dismay, and their voices became even quieter. "Great elder, have you forgotten? Those shops were bestowed to Chu Ning by the clan head back then. They were all written in his name. After he left the Chu family, he sent people to take back those shops." The great elder was shocked. Only now did he remember this matter. Chu Ning was very favored in the Chu family back then. He was almost publicly acknowledged as the next clan head, so he had a lot of assets under his name. After his downfall, although he was in a terrible situation and had those shops taken away, the names on the deeds were still the same. After Chu Ning became the commander of the Imperial Guards, it was naturally not a problem for him to take back those shops. They didn't have the courage to confront the current Chu Ning head-on. The great elder was so angry that he almost tore the account books to shreds. If this continued, the Chu family's future would be even worse. "Great elder, Chu Liyue is here." At this moment, a manservant suddenly ran in with a panicked expression. Everyone thought that they had heard wrongly. Hadn't Chu Liyue severed ties with the Chu family? How dare she come here? The great elder narrowed his eyes. "It's really her?" "Yes, it's her." The manservant wanted to cry but had no tears. She even brought a few people with her. They're right outside the gate right now. She really ate a bear's heart and leopard's guts. The great elder slammed the table and stood up. "She actually has the face to come to our Chu family again. I'd like to see what she's up to this time." Even if she knelt down and begged him, he wouldn't be soft-hearted. The manservant panted heavily and spoke with difficulty. "Great elder," Chu Liyue said what? She said that she's here to collect her debt today. Love Network provided a better reading experience. Chapter 119. She wants to settle the debt? The first elder was so angry that he laughed. Why would she want to settle the debt? The servant took a step back in fear. She said that you haven't given her the family property that you promised to give her when you signed the separation agreement. Also, she wants to take away the dowry that her mother brought with her today. The first elder's heart skipped a beat. He had almost forgotten about this matter. That day, he was nearly driven mad by Chu Liyue. He didn't even check the amount carefully before signing the agreement. Now that he thought about it, it was a huge sum of money. Just the dowry that Chu Liyue's mother brought with her back then was already extremely generous. If he were to return it all to Chu Liyue, it would be no different from causing a huge loss to the Chu clan. The first elder paced around in frustration. He glanced at the scattered account books on the table, and his mood worsened. The Chu clan was currently struggling to make ends meet. If they were to take out this sum of money, it would only make things worse. How could Chu Liyue be so thick-skinned as to come knocking on our door to ask for it? "First elder, you should hurry up and take a look." Chu Liyue said that if they don't get the money today, they won't leave. Right now, they've already blocked the entrance. It's useless. The first elder cursed angrily as he strode out of the room. Could a mere Chu Luiwei really tear down the Chu clan? The first elder rushed to the entrance, and when he saw the scene before him, he nearly fainted from anger. Chu Luiwei was standing in front of the main entrance, and there were already quite a few people gathered around her to watch the commotion. She was speaking to the people around her with a sorrowful expression. That's right. When I was very young, my mother passed away, leaving only my father and I to rely on each other. I'm sure you all know that back then, my father was injured in order to save the emperor and couldn't continue cultivating. The Chu clan said that we didn't have the energy to take care of my mother's dowry, so they told us to hand it over to Lu Yao for safekeeping. After so many years, my father and I have finally made it. I don't think that the other things are important, but the dowry belongs to my mother. It's the last thing my mother left me. If I don't come back, I won't be able to rest easy. Everyone nodded as they listened. Chu Ning and Chu Luiwei were also considered celebrities in the capital. People often talked about them in private, so they more or less knew that Chu Luiwei was telling the truth. In fact, everyone knew that the Chu family was doing this because they wanted to seize Chu Luiwei's mother's dowry. Although the Chu clan appeared to be wealthy, they were actually very greedy. This dowry is yours, no one else can touch it. You must come back. Exactly. In any case, the Chu clan is one of the 4 great clans. If they really refuse to return the item to you, wouldn't that be too much? That's true. If the Chu clan really did that, wouldn't they be throwing away their face? The great elder's face turned ashen when he heard this. He shouted angrily, Chu Luiwei, what are you doing? Chu Luiwei lifted his eyes and glanced at him lazily. Oh, great elder Chu, don't you know what I'm doing here? Previously, you agreed to split the family and said that you would send over the items that belonged to me and my father. However, I waited and waited, but no one came. Not even a shadow of the item was seen. I thought that you probably have a lot of things to do, so you don't have time to deal with these small matters. That's why I specially brought people over this time. Chu Luiwei raised his hand and pointed at the people behind him. These 2 are the stewards of Zhenbao Pavilion. They are the best at checking accounts. In a while, they will help you count the items. There will be no mistakes. These 4 are the servants of Zhenbao Pavilion. They are very strong and can help move the items away. There's no need to trouble your Chu clan. Great Elder Chu, what do you think? The great elder was so angry that he couldn't speak. This Chu Luiwei actually planned everything. This time, he brought people to block the door with the intention of taking away all the items. It seemed that if he didn't agree, he would directly rob them. You impudent! This is the Chu clan, not a place where you can behave atrociously. Chu Luiwei replied with a question. How am I impudent? I'm only here to take back what belongs to me and my father. Can I do that? Or is great elder Chu planning to go back on his word? There were many witnesses last time and this time. It's not very good for you to do this, is it? The smile on his face faded a little. Of course I know that this is the Chu clan. If you didn't keep your promise, why would I come here? I'm afraid that if I come here too many times, it will dirty my eyes. Chu Luiwei, how can you say that? Lu Yao, who had rushed over after hearing the news, immediately reprimanded him. A trace of resentment flashed through her eyes. Looking at this face now, he couldn't help but think of his daughter's disfigured appearance and that despicable wedding. Although you have no relationship with the Chu clan now, everyone here is still your elder. Have you lost your manners after leaving the Chu clan? Lu Yao still had a shred of rationality left. She didn't curse out loud. She knew that with so many people watching, it was better to use a soft approach. However, Chu Luiwei didn't fall for her trick. He couldn't even be bothered to brush her off. Lu Yao? It's good that you're here. My mother's dowry is with you. Even if you want to check it, this period of time is enough for you to sort it out. Since I've personally come here today, then return them all to me. Or, are you unwilling to hand it over? In front of so many people, Lu Yao naturally couldn't deny it. She could only force a smile. How is that possible? Not to mention the Chu clan's wealth, even I, Lu Yao, was born in the Lu clan. How could I be interested in your things? That's good. Chu Luiwei interrupted her and took out a list from his sleeve. This is the list of dowry my mother brought with her when she married into the Chu clan. Later, I'll hand it over to Steward Wu and Steward Zhang to check. These are the last things my mother left behind. If even half of it is missing, I won't let this matter rest. As he spoke, Chu Luiwei passed the list to the two people behind him. Lu Yao was dumbfounded. That list was something from more than 10 years ago. How could Chu Luiwei have it? She felt like something was stuck in her throat. Her back was covered in cold sweat. All these years, she had indeed touched those things. She originally thought that Chu Ning and Chu Luiwei would never have a chance to make a name for themselves in this lifetime. Naturally, she planned to take those things for herself. Who would have thought that they would one day make a comeback? Now, she actually wanted to check carefully. What should she do? Chu Luiwei saw her expression. How could he not know what she was planning? He couldn't help but sneer in his heart. If she didn't skin the entire Chu clan alive today, they wouldn't know that she, Chu Luiwei, wasn't someone to be trifled with. Xiaowen, bring me a chair. Chu Luiwei ordered. A burly youth behind him immediately responded. He quickly walked to the side of the carriage and brought out a red sandalwood chair. He placed it behind Chu Luiwei. Chu Luiwei sat down casually and leisurely. First Elder Chu Luyao, hurry up. There are so many things and I only have one day off today. I have to count them quickly. Love Network has a better reading experience. Chapter 120. If not for the fact that there were so many people watching, First Elder would have rushed over to teach Chu Luiwei a lesson himself. Such an arrogant look really made people fly into a rage. Lu Yao, all these years, you have been in charge of the family's finances. Go and check the list with them. Give them what they deserve and don't touch what they don't deserve. Lu Yao was shocked by this shout. Seeing the anger on First Elder's face, she subconsciously agreed. First Elder still felt that it wasn't enough. He shouted at the other stewards. And the few of you, go and watch together. We can't make any mistakes in this account. The few of them hurriedly agreed. Lu Yao's body was tense and her footsteps were heavy. However, she knew that she had to do it even if she didn't want to. On the other side, Steward Wu and the other steward had already set up a formation and started to check the items according to the list. A pair of 8-colored glass lamps, 2 sets of white jade December tokens, a pair of gilded horse pots, 2 painted Kongho. Lu Yao had no choice but to grit her teeth. Didn't you hear? Go and get the items from the storeroom. The servants responded and hurried over. When they took out the items one by one, the people Chu Luiwei brought over would immediately go forward and take the items. After checking carefully, they would put them back in the carriage. Chu Luiwei smiled. These are the most capable people in Zhenbao Pavilion. Although their positions aren't high, they are the best at identifying treasures. They will know whether it's real or fake with one look. Wouldn't it be more convenient for everyone if they check carefully like this? This sentence shattered the last trace of hope in Lu Yao's heart. She closed her eyes and accepted her fate. Chu Luiwei was going to go against them to the end today. In a tea house not far from the Chu residence, someone saw this scene clearly. His temper is still the same as before. A low laugh came from behind the beaded curtain. Did you get these people from your place? When Yen Gu heard this, he bowed again and said respectfully, Yes, First Master. Madam came to Zhenbao Pavilion early this morning and said that she wanted to borrow some people. I didn't expect. At that time, he was still very puzzled. He didn't know why Chu Luiwei needed a steward to look after the accounts. Who would have thought that the steward would come to cause trouble for the Chu family? Yen Gu could be considered to have seen many things, but this was the first time he had seen such a situation. Chu Luiwei wasn't going to collect debts at all. Most importantly, this request was reasonable and couldn't be denied. The Chu clan had many people. If Chu Luiwei came alone, he would definitely be defeated. Therefore, she deliberately found a few people and exposed the matter in front of everyone. This way, the Chu family would have no choice but to do as she said. After all, the Chu family still cared about their reputation in the capital. You did a good job. Hearing the praise in the First Master's tone, Yen Gu was flattered. He had followed the Big Master for so many years, but he had rarely heard such praise. Today, he had only transferred a few people to Chu Luiyue, and the first master was so happy. He had really made a big profit. First master, you flatter me. I really didn't do much in this matter. Everything was Madame's idea. The person behind the beaded curtain seemed to shake his head and smiled. Naturally, only she could think of such an idea, and only she could do it in the most straightforward way. If it were someone else, who would dare to go against the Chu family alone? Yen Gu thought for a while and couldn't help but say, First master, Madame doesn't seem to be very clear about your identity, and she doesn't know what you have done for her. Do you want to? When it's time for her to know, she will naturally know. You just have to do your own thing well. Yen Gu lowered his head. In front of the Chu family's main gate, Steward Wu and the steward were still going through the list. This pair of half-moon feather glasses is fake. And this bamboo jade flute is also fake. The people Chu Luiyue brought over were very efficient. As they moved the items, they didn't forget to distinguish the real from the fake. They also picked out the fake items and put them aside. Every fake item that was taken out was equivalent to a slap to Lu Yao's face. The Chu family was also embarrassed. Some of them couldn't help but look at Lu Yao with resentment. Who would have thought that Lu Yao, the head of the household, would be so arrogant as to fill her own pockets? If they hadn't checked these items today, they wouldn't have known that Lu Yao had done so much to the Chu family's assets. And these were only the dowry left behind by Chu Luiyue's mother. There were so many assets in the residence. Who knew how much more she had embezzled? Sensing these gazes, Lu Yao's face quickly turned pale. Her entire body swayed like a leaf in a storm, about to be blown away at any time. If possible, she really wanted to find a hole in the ground to hide in. Every minute and every second of standing here was incomparably torturous. Chu Luiyue held his chin with one hand and glanced at the fake items that were taken out. He seemed to be smiling. It seems like your family has been doing well all these years. I was wondering why Chu Xianmin was so generous to spend 200,000 silver taels for a random set of jewelry. Red chalcedony items aren't something that ordinary people can afford. Lu Yao wanted to tear Chu Luiyue's mouth apart. Chu Luiyue clearly set a trap for Minmin, yet she still had the cheek to say it. She even twisted the truth. But before she could speak, she felt the surrounding Chu family members' gazes become even more resentful. Her heart sank. She knew that they had already believed Chu Luiyue's words. So many fake items were taken out. How could they still believe her? Even if Chu Luiyue didn't say anything, they would probably want to take her life right now. Time passed slowly. Chu Luiyue was very relaxed as he sat on the chair and watched. In between, shopkeeper Wu even specially served her tea and exquisite snacks so that she wouldn't starve. Chu Luiyue followed all the good advice. Instead of saying that she was here to ask for money, she might as well say that she was here to take her life. It wasn't until noon that the list of dowries was taken care of. After that, Chu Luiyue requested to split the assets according to the contract that day and forcefully took away a lot of silver taels from the Chu family. When the silver taels were moved onto the horse carriage, even the strong-willed first elder couldn't help but feel heartache. The few managers looked at it and felt even more heartache when they thought of the messy account books. The surrounding crowd was already stunned when they saw so many treasures. I didn't expect Chu Luiyue's mother to bring such a generous dowry when she married into the Chu family. Rumor has it that Chu Luiyue and Chu Ning had a hard time in the Chu family. Sometimes, their food and clothes couldn't even compare to the servants. Selling some of these treasures should be enough for them to survive, right? Chu Ning and his wife are deeply in love. I think he's unwilling to sell them. Besides, these things are in someone else's possession. I'm afraid he hasn't seen them before, let alone sell them. That's true. The Chu family really spent a lot of money this time. The horse carriage made several trips and finally took away all the treasures. In front of the door, there were only the fake goods that were kicked out. It was especially awkward. Chu Luiyue stood up and lazily rubbed her shoulders. She was really tired after sitting for so long. Alright, that's all for today. First Elder Chu's eyelids twitched. What did she mean? She's coming again? Chu Luiyue seemed to have seen through his thoughts and waved her hand casually. Don't worry, I won't be coming again. However, shopkeeper Wu has already taken note of these fake goods. Please make up for it in the future. You can send it to my house or I'll send someone to pick it up. First elder couldn't hide his anger and looked at Lu Yao. This is what you've done in the past few years as the head of the family. You'll have to fill this hole yourself. Lu Yao's body swayed. Chu Luiyue smiled meaningfully. Why are you angry, First Elder Chu? It's just some small things. Even if the Chu family doesn't want to take them, the Lu family's wealth is comparable to that of a country. Isn't this a piece of cake? Don't you think so, Lu Yao? The best reading experience came from the Love Network. Chapter 121. Lu Yao could not say anything. She was just a concubine's daughter in the Lu family and did not have a high status. She thought that their lives would be much better after Chu Xianmin became the crown princess. Who would have thought that things would turn out this way? Chu Luiyue turned around. Let's go. First elder suppressed the anger in his heart. Close the door. When everyone in the Chu family returned to the residence, he took a deep breath and shouted, Go! Inform all the elders in the Chu family. Tell them to come to the main hall. I think it's time to settle the score with the Chu family today. After he finished speaking, he did not forget to look at Lu Yao, who was in a daze. Especially Chu Yan. Get him here as well. Lu Yao's legs turned to jelly as she knelt on the ground. Her face was as pale as a ghost. At Tianlu Academy, have you heard? Chu Luiyue went to the Chu family to cause trouble again yesterday. The entire Chu family is in a mess now. Why did I hear that Chu Luiyue only went to take back the things that belonged to her and her father, including her mother's dowry? Logically speaking, this shouldn't be a big deal, right? Hey, it's nothing? The Chu family doesn't think so. Do you know how many treasures and silver Chu Luiyue took from the Chu family yesterday? She took away a layer of the Chu family's flesh. If you ask me, this Chu Luiyue is really ruthless. After all, the Chu family gave birth to her and raised her. Now that she has made a name for herself, she turned her back on them and even took away so many things from the Chu family. The Chu family's status as one of the 4 major families was already precarious. I'm afraid that this is one disaster after another. It's better not to provoke such a person. The students, who had rested for the day, returned to the academy today. They formed groups of 3 to 5 and discussed animatedly. This farce had caused too much of a commotion. It was hard for them not to know. What are you talking about? A crisp female voice rang out, interrupting their whispers. They turned around and saw Mu Hongyu. Seeing that it was her, most of them were fearful. Mu Hongyu's temper was fierce and she had strength. She was really difficult to deal with. Most importantly, she had a powerful background. She was the only daughter of Lord Pingjiang, the true Princess Yongping. Even though she wasn't a princess, her status was equally noble. Why aren't you saying anything? Weren't you guys talking happily just now? Mu Hongyu stepped forward and swept her eyes over the crowd with interest. Although she was smiling, everyone could hear the threat in her tone. Hongyu, we were just chatting in private. We didn't say anything. That's right. Mu Hongyu crossed her arms and raised her chin. Her voice was crisp. I heard everything you said just now very clearly. Let me tell you, Chu Luiyue is Mu Hongyu's friend. If I hear anyone bad-mouthing her again, don't blame me for being rude. It was quiet all around. Everyone looked at each other. They didn't expect Mu Hongyu to say something like that. Friend. When did she become friends with Chu Luiyue? Chu Luiyue, who had just walked over, happened to hear what she said. She stopped in her tracks and looked at Mu Hongyu, who was not far away, in surprise. Actually, they had only spoken twice, but Mu Hongyu was willing to stand up for her. Chu Luiyue's heart felt like it was being rubbed by something. Hongyu. Mu Hongyu finally saw Chu Luiyue behind the crowd. The cold expression on her face faded, and she waved at her with her almond-shaped eyes. Luiyue. Chu Luiyue walked over and didn't seem to notice the awkward atmosphere. She smiled and said, Why are you standing here? Aren't you about to break through? You should hurry up and cultivate in Jiuyou Tower. Mu Hongyu snorted. They're talking bad about you. Chu Liyue shook her head and smiled nonchalantly. That's nothing. Don't worry about it. I just collected a debt yesterday, and I have a lot of money now. I'll bring you to Phoenix Restaurant for drinks another day. You didn't come the last time, right? Mu Hongyu got excited at the mention of Phoenix Restaurant. She hurried over to Chu Liyue. Really? I really like their crystal prawn dumplings. But I can only go there once a month with my allowance. Chu Liyue laughed. It seemed like Mu Hongyu was a foodie. Of course it's true. I'll treat you every day. But I have to wait until you break through first. Sure. Oh yes, I found a few more people to form a team for the magical beast tide. It's up to you. The two of them walked away. The rest of the crowd felt bored and also dispersed. Lu Yu, are you really not angry at what those people said about you just now? When there was no one around, Mu Hongyu finally couldn't help but ask. Chu Liyue laughed. What's there to be angry about? Since I dared to do it, I'm not afraid of being criticized. Besides, you saw it yourself. They only dared to talk behind my back. They didn't dare to say a word in front of me. If I had to teach everyone who scolded me a lesson, I would be busy to death. It's not worth it for those people. Mu Hongyu pursed her lips. The way you talk is very similar to my father. But I'm angry. If anyone makes me unhappy, I'll definitely get back at them. Mu Hongyu had a straightforward personality. She didn't beat around the bush, but she clearly wasn't someone who was willing to suffer losses. Chu Liyue knew that it was useless to persuade her. Besides, she was helping him this time. Thus, he smiled and changed the topic. You said you found a few more people? Who are they? Mu Hongyu stretched out her hand. Besides you and me, there are 3 more spots. Liao Zhongshu and Sun who have already agreed to join. Both of them aren't weak. One of them ranked 9th and the other 7th in the midterm assessment. They have a good relationship with me. I can trust them. Alright, there's also Gu Mingfeng. You should know that he's going to fight Chu Xianmin in the finals. Gu Mingfeng? Chu Liyue was a little surprised. She did know a little about this person. She heard that he was a bastard son of the Gu family. His birth mother's status was very low, so he wasn't favored. Even though he got into Tianlu Academy, his status in the Gu family was still very low. On the day of his fight with Chu Xianmin, she didn't have a deep impression of Gu Mingfeng. She only remembered that he was a young man with a feminine appearance and a cold temperament. Yet, don't be fooled by his quiet personality. He's really strong. I lost to him last time. It wasn't easy to get him to team up with me this time. He isn't going to team up with Gu Mingzhu? TSK, he doesn't even interact with Gu Mingzhu. How can they team up? Besides, Gu Mingzhu is very arrogant because she's a Xian master. Why would she team up with us? Mu Hongyu didn't think much of Gu Mingzhu. Chu Liyue nodded. Mu Hongyu suddenly thought of something and asked, Oh, right. By the way, do you know that Chu Xianmin is coming back today? Love Network provided a better reading experience. Chapter 122. Of course, Chu Xianmin would come back. Now that she was in such a miserable state, she could only rely on herself. She just did not know how Chu Xianmin would feel when she came back after the Crown Prince and Lu Yao got into trouble one after another. Min, why didn't you invite us to your wedding? We were all waiting to send you off and have a good time. A familiar voice suddenly came from the corner. Chu Liyue and Mu Hongyu looked at each other and walked a few steps forward. The person who spoke was indeed Lu Fian. At this moment, she was leading a few girls and surrounding a person. That person was wearing a veil. Based on her figure, it seemed to be Chu Xianmin. Yeah, we didn't receive your invitation, and we didn't even know the date. As long as you asked, we would have gone even if we took leave. We're so close. Why did you hide it from us? Lu Fian was actually very angry. She originally planned to go on the day Chu Xianmin married into the Crown Prince mansion so that she could at least meet the Crown Prince. However, Chu Xianmin did not invite them at all. Without an invitation, they could not go at all. After missing such a great opportunity, Lu Fian could not help but suspect that Chu Xianmin did it on purpose to monopolize the Crown Prince. Even though she was still smiling when she spoke, her eyes were filled with dissatisfaction. There was too little time, and I didn't have time to do many things. That's why I neglected you. I didn't do it on purpose. Chu Xianmin clenched her teeth and said. She clearly knew what these people were thinking. They wanted to make a fool out of her. There was no way. Lu Fian purposely smiled. The crown prince has always liked you, and now he's even willing to let you go back to school. Minmin, you must be doing well in the crown prince mansion, right? Chu Xianmin reluctantly responded. I haven't been here for a few days. I have some things to look for my teacher, so I won't chat with you guys for now. Then she walked around them and was about to leave. However, when she looked up, she happened to see the person she hated the most. Chu Luwe. Chu Xianmin's heart suddenly burned with anger, and her fingernails dug deeply into her palms. If looks could kill, Chu Luwe would have been covered in bruises. Mu Hongyu stared at her alertly. What do you want to do? However, Chu Xianmin did not say anything and walked past Chu Luwe and Chu Xianmin. That's strange. If it was in the past, she definitely wouldn't have given up so easily. Why did her personality change after marrying into the crown prince's residence? Mu Hongyu murmured. Chu Luwe looked at Chu Xianmin's departing figure thoughtfully and smiled. The best part is yet to come. Let's go. The imperial capital seemed to be as calm as ever, but some people had already sensed that something was wrong. Something seemed to have happened to the crown prince. The most obvious point was that the memorials that had previously been sent to the crown prince's residence were now sent to the palace. On the surface, Emperor Zhouan said that the crown prince was at the stage of breaking through, so he didn't want him to be distracted for the time being. But in reality, anyone with a discerning eye knew that this was taking back the crown prince's authority. Moreover, the crown prince had been in seclusion recently, refusing all invitations. Obviously, there was something fishy going on. However, the palace had sealed off all news, so the crowd had no way of finding out what exactly happened. They could only secretly guess and choose to wait and see. Some people who were originally indecisive started to plan for themselves and secretly took action. Third brother, what exactly is father planning to do? The crown prince sent someone to assassinate you, and the evidence is clear. Why did father just ask the crown prince to reflect on his mistakes in the residence? Even if he thinks highly of the crown prince, he can't just let this matter end so hastily, right? Rong Feng knitted his brows tightly and could not figure it out. After receiving seventh brother's big gift, he and Rong Jiao immediately understood. In the next few days, they worked together to gather more evidence, and Rong Jiao presented all of it to father for him to take a look. The crown prince can't deny it. But why is father letting it go so easily? Rong Jiao looked calm. The evidence can indeed deal a heavy blow to the crown prince, but it's still too naive to rely on this to bring him down. But we can't just let it end like this, right? Rong Feng anxiously stood up and paced back and forth. Although he didn't really do anything to you, third brother, he can't deny it to seventh brother. This matter is just putting the blame on you, third brother. How can father be so biased towards him? As an emperor, shouldn't he hate such things? Indeed. But you forgot one thing. Even though the crown prince will make father hate him for doing something to me, it's still considered a lucky hit. It's also because of this that his punishment was reduced by a lot. As Rong Jiao spoke, he mocked himself. Didn't father keep me in the imperial city for so long because he wanted to do the same? Now that the crown prince did it for him, it made him feel much more relaxed. Hence, Rong Jin's position as the crown prince would not be shaken this time. Rong Feng looked at his expression and suddenly understood something. Third brother, you're talking about father? But since things have already come to this point, isn't it good to take the opportunity to pull the crown prince down? Rong Jiao closed his eyes. There's no hurry. The outside world was in turmoil, but Chu Liuyue's days in the academy were very peaceful. Soon, it was the end of August, and the fiend title was just around the corner. The atmosphere in the academy became lively, and excited discussions could be heard everywhere. The students also became more diligent in their cultivation. Chu Luiyue could clearly feel that more people came to Jiuyou Tower. What she didn't know was that it was very difficult to earn time in Jiuyou Tower to cultivate, so many people couldn't bear to come every day. They would only come more often when they were about to break through or when something big was about to happen. Chu Luiyue originally wanted to break through to become a stage 2 warrior, but he failed again, so he decided not to think about it. When Chu Luiyue returned to his residence at night, he saw a familiar figure once he entered the door. No, there were two figures. Rong Xiao and Xue Xue. Chu Luiyue was a little surprised. "Oh, Your Highness, you're so free today?" During this period, Rong Xiao seemed to be very busy. Even though he came a few times in between, he mostly came in the middle of the night and left early in the morning. Sometimes she didn't even see him. She could only know that he was here when she smelled his faint, cold fragrance. Today was a rare day. Rong Xiao raised his eyebrows slightly, took out a box from his arms, and handed it over. "Open it and take a look." Chu Luiyue took it over and lightly clicked on it. The box opened with a sound. A dagger was lying there quietly. She took off the black scabbard, and a cold light flashed across. "This dagger is so sharp." Chu Luiyue was pleasantly surprised. She took a closer look and saw that there were two extremely thin, willow leaf-like flying daggers attached to it. With just one look, Chu Luiyue could feel the strong suppression contained in it. She looked up in surprise. "Those little things of yours are not presentable. I specially prepared a handy one for you." Chu Luiyue remembered that Rong Xiao seemed to have said something like that before. She thought that he was joking. She didn't expect that he was serious. Her heart skipped a beat. "Your Highness has been leaving early and returning late recently. Is it related to this thing?" Rong Xiao leaned closer, his eyes as deep as the starry night. His voice was low and teasing. "Then, how will you repay you? How about giving yourself to me?" He suddenly paused and looked down at the scabbard in front of his chest. "Then I can give myself to you. Digression, today, it's on the shelves. First come, first serve. Everyone accompanied you all the way. You was grateful." She didn't say much, only diligently updating. "I hope that everyone can support me. Thank you. Mobile users, please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from Love Network." Chapter 123. Your Highness, it's better for you to make more practical requests. Chu Luiyue held onto the scabbard and used a little force, wanting to push him away. Rong Xiao knitted his brows slightly, but he didn't move back. Instead, he moved forward another inch. The two of them were already very close to each other, so they could smell each other's breaths. He openly displayed everything about himself in front of her as if he didn't care about anything else. Chu Luiyue's figure was reflected in his deep eyes. Chu Luiyue was dazed for a moment. It was as if even if she was holding a sharp blade in her hands, he would still come over without a care. Her daze caused her actions to be delayed for a moment. A dim light flashed across Rong Jin's eyes, and his thin lips gently curved up into an ambiguous arc. A faint sigh landed in Chu Luiyue's ears. How fierce! In the quiet and dark night, this sigh was like the spring wind that messed up the strings of a zither. It left an echo in Chu Luiyue's heart and didn't go away for a long time. Her heart couldn't help but beat violently as if something cunning had torn a hole in the stiff and cold wall in her heart and crawled in. She almost instinctively took a step back and avoided Rong Xiao's eyes. "Your Highness, with your distinguished status, countless gentle and virtuous women will go to you as long as you wave your hand. I, Chu Luiyue, am fierce, ruthless, and cold-hearted. Your Highness, why are you wasting your time on me?" Rong Xiao looked at her, and something seemed to be moving in his eyes. Finally, it turned into a light smile. "But I can't see them. I only see you. What can I do?" Chu Luiyue's heart tingled, and she couldn't help but look at him. The cold moonlight flowed in, and Rong Xiao's face was half lit and half dark. His brows were slightly knitted as if he was very troubled. However, there was a hint of indulgence in his eyes and brows. Chu Luiyue didn't know how to respond to such a straightforward confession of love. The two of them quieted down, leaving only an ambiguous atmosphere brewing between them. It was as if even the wind at the end of summer had become gentle. Chu Luiyue had heard of confessions before. In her previous life, her status was noble, her strength was extraordinary, and there was no need to talk about her appearance. She had attracted the admiration of many young men. Logically speaking, she shouldn't feel anything if she were to encounter such a scene again. But Rong Xiu's words seemed to have an inexplicable power, which could always easily stir up her mood. Chu Luiyue lowered his eyes. Not to mention that Rong Xiu had saved her several times. Just the peach blossom hairpin on Rong Xiu's birthday and the exquisite dagger today showed that he had put in a lot of effort. If it were any other woman, they would be moved by what he had done for her. It would be a lie to say that she didn't feel anything. But she had experienced the most unforgettable betrayal in the world. Now, she couldn't easily give all her trust. Faced with Rong Xiu's kindness, her first reaction was not to accept it happily, but to escape. When Rong Xiu approached her, there was a faint trace of fear in her heart. That fear came from the unforgettable pain in the depths of her memory. And she couldn't tell Rong Xiu about this. Moreover, after her rebirth, the most important thing for her was revenge. If she was too close to Rong Xiu, he would definitely be implicated. This was also unfair to Rong Xiu. Countless thoughts flashed through her mind. In just a moment, Chu Luiyue looked up at Rong Xiu again. Her expression was calm, her eyes were clear, and the corners of her mouth curved. "Your Highness really knows how to joke." Her cold voice shattered the originally ambiguous atmosphere. Rong Xiu stared at her. Both of them were smart people. There were some words that didn't need to be said. They already understood each other's meaning. Chu Luiyue waited for Rong Xiu to turn and leave. Any man who had done so much for a woman but was still rejected should not continue, right? Moreover, Rong Xiu was of noble status. However, unexpectedly, Rong Xiu didn't look angry or embarrassed at all, as if he didn't care about Chu Luiyue's words. Then, he reached out and grasped the scabbard in front of his chest. "Just tell me, do you like this gift?" Chu Luiyue was stunned. But seeing Rong Xiu's insistence, she could only nod. "Your Highness' gift is always good." "It's good that you like it." Rong Xiu chuckled, then suddenly reached out and pinched her cheek. "When I made this, I put in a lot of effort. Today, you have to accompany me to rest as a token of your gratitude." Chu Luiyue was shocked. "This, you made it yourself?" Because she was too surprised, she didn't have time to complain about Rong Xiu pinching her cheek. Seeing the girl in front of him in a daze, Rong Xiu's mood finally improved. He turned and walked upstairs. "I'm very tired today. I'll tell you tomorrow." Chu Luiyue sneered in her heart. Why would he talk about this tomorrow? "Your Highness, if you're willing to talk about it tomorrow, I'm afraid I won't have the chance to listen." Rong Xiu stopped and looked back at her. Chu Luiyue also walked forward. When she reached him, she paused and raised her chin slightly. "The academy will set off for Wang Lin Mountain tomorrow. We have to leave early in the morning. So, you'd better tell it to yourself." After saying that, Chu Luiyue didn't look at Rong Xiu's expression. She went upstairs, entered her room, and directly locked the door. Rong Xiu only reacted when he heard the sound of the door being locked. He looked at the tightly shut door and raised his eyebrows. After a moment, he couldn't help but laugh. She was really as calculative as always. She refused to lose even a little. At this moment, Shui, who had been trying to reduce its presence, suddenly jumped from the first floor to the door of Chu Luiyue's room on the second floor. It scratched the door with its claws. Its claws were so sharp that it left a few neat scratch marks on the door. Seeing Shui like this, Rong Xiu suddenly felt that it was embarrassing. After all, it was a high-level magical beast. How could it lose its composure when faced with such a small matter? How embarrassing was it to scratch here and there? "Shui, what are you doing?" Rong Xiu lowered his voice and asked. Shui turned around to look at him. Its eyes were filled with grievance and indignation. Why else would she go to Wanling Mountain? Of course, it was to hunt magical beasts. Didn't Chu Luiyue like it? Why did she go out to find other wild dogs? No wild magical beasts. What was she doing with it? This was absolutely unacceptable. Shui couldn't care less about Rong Xiu anymore. It turned around and scratched the door again. However, Rong Xiu immediately understood from this look. Wait a minute. Tianlu Academy would indeed bring students to Wang Lin Mountain to train at this time every year. If he remembered correctly, they seemed to be forming their own teams. Then, who was she in the same team as? A crack finally appeared in Rong Xiu's calm expression. Chu Luiwei had just entered Tianlu Academy, so she didn't know many people. The people she was most familiar with were probably the dozens of Xian masters. If she was in a team, she would be with these people. Could it be that fellow from the C family? Mobile users, please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from LoveWeb. Chapter 124. Wanling Mountain was a 2-day journey from the imperial city. Tianlu Academy's teachers would bring the students who volunteered to go there for training. Some people wanted to hunt fiend beasts that they were satisfied with, while others wanted to use this rare opportunity to improve their skills. Fighting with fiend beasts could increase one's potential and unleash more power. Sometimes, this could even help cultivators break through their own bottlenecks and advance to the next level. Thus, most of the students in the academy had signed up. Early in the morning, the students had already gathered at the first glimmer of light. The older students were fine, but most of the new students could not hide their excitement. I wonder if I can hunt a 4th-grade fiend beast during this fiend tide? Just you? Don't even think about it. Only the most talented and powerful people can hunt fiend beasts of that level. That might not be the case. Maybe I'll be lucky and encounter one. What's more, the people in our group aren't weak. If we join forces, there's a chance of success. I don't want to think too much. I just want to find a few powerful fiend beasts to fight with. Tisk, when you encounter a high-level fiend beast, you might not even have time to run. Everyone was discussing and teasing each other. They were obviously looking forward to this trip. Outside the lively crowd, a few people were exceptionally quiet. Why isn't Lu Yu here yet? It's almost time to leave. Mu Hongyu looked at the sky and was a little anxious. Yesterday, she had specially told Chu Luiwei twice about today's departure time and that she could not be late. Now that everyone had arrived, why was she still nowhere to be seen? Is she delayed by something? A tall and skinny young man beside Mu Hongyu asked. His skin was very white, and he looked very gentle. He spoke slower than the average person, but he sounded very gentle. This person was Liao Zhongshu. Mu Hongyu shook her head. What could be more important than the fiend tide now? Logically speaking, she shouldn't have forgotten. Chu Luiwei did not seem like an unreliable person. Do you know where she lives? Why don't we go look for her directly? Liao Zhongshu said placatingly. Mu Hongyu covered her face. You forgot that she's a mystic cultivator and lives in a different place from us. These days, she had become much closer to Chu Luiwei, but she had never asked where Chu Luiwei lived. Liao Zhongshu fell silent for a moment. He had really neglected this. What's there to be troubled about? If we really can't do it, the 4 of us can form a team. We're short of 1 person. Could it be that we're not allowed to go? A burly, dark-skinned youth beside Liao Zhongshu said in a gruff voice. Sinhu, are you a tiger? Mu Hongyu rolled her eyes at him. Everyone else said there are 5 people, but there are only 4 of us. How much of a loss do we have to suffer? Don't forget that when we reach Wanling Mountain, we fight in small groups. Sinhu trembled from her reprimand. He scratched his head and muttered softly, Then we can't find another person? Mu Hongyu glared at him. At this juncture, everyone has already formed a team. Where are we going to find another person? Sinhu finally shut his mouth. Everyone, come forward to collect your items. The few of them turned their heads to take a look. After we collect our items, we really have to set off, Liao Zhongshu said with a frown. Mu Hongyu bit her lip. I'll go and ask Teacher Bai Chen. On the other side, Bai Chen was counting the number of mystic cultivators. After counting, he immediately realized that something was wrong. Where's Chu Luiwei? Why isn't she here? Everyone looked at each other, but no one said anything. Teacher Bai Chen, do you know where Lu Yu lives? She's not here yet. I want to go and find her. Mu Hongyu quickly walked forward and said straightforwardly. Bai Chen was shocked. She's really not here yet? Seeing Mu Hongyu's anxious expression, He thought for a moment and immediately looked at Si Ting. Si Ting, you know where she lives, right? Bring Mu Hongyu to take a look. Si Ting nodded. Okay. However, before the two of them could do anything, Gu Mingzhu, who had been watching coldly from the side, could not help but mock them. Teacher Bai Chen, it's almost time. What if you don't make it back in time if you look for her now? Chu Luiyue didn't pay attention to the time, so it's her fault if she misses it. You can't implicate others because of her, right? Mu Hongyu glared at her in annoyance. Gu Mingzhu, what does this have to do with you? We're not in the same team as you. Even if there's a delay, it won't affect you. Why are you so anxious? Gu Mingzhu's face turned red. Am I not telling the truth? Chu Luiyue is in the same team as you. If you want to look for her, go look for her yourself. Don't drag others into it. With that said, she snorted and pursed her lips. I think she's afraid and deliberately didn't go. Mu Hongyu suppressed the anger in her heart. I don't have time to talk nonsense with you now. I'll deal with you when I come back. Si Ting, bring me there first. With that said, the two of them turned to leave. You don't have to look for her. I'm here. A familiar voice rang out. Mu Hongyu looked up in surprise and saw Chu Luiyue indeed. Luiyue, you're finally here. Mu Hongyu quickly walked over to Chu Luiyue and could not help but pat her arm. Why are you so late? I thought you were going to stand us up. Chu Luiyue put her hands together and begged for mercy. I'm sorry. Something happened and I was delayed. Is there still time? Of course there's still time. Mu Hongyu glanced at Gu Mingzhu and deliberately raised her voice. Some people can't wait for you not to come, so that they won't be suppressed again. Gu Mingzhu wanted to argue, but when she saw Si Ting next to her, she suppressed her anger and turned her head away angrily. Lu Yu, you almost couldn't make it. Bai Chen shook his head, but he could not bear to scold her, so he waved at her. Hurry up and go back. It will be your turn soon. Thank you, Teacher Bai Chen. After Chu Luiyue finished speaking, she and Mu Hongyu went back to meet the others. Mu Hongyu poked her and said in a low voice, Hey, why are you here? Hey, what's wrong with you today? Why are you so late? Chu Luiyue coughed. It's just a small matter. It's already settled. Yes, it was just that Prince Li and Xue pestered her for most of the night. Mobile users, please browse for a better reading experience from Love Network. Chapter 125. This pair of master and servant, one human and one beast, had the same temperament. After knowing that she was going to Wang Lin Mountain today, they started to cause a ruckus. If she had not stopped it in time, the door would have been smashed by Xue's claws. Xue seemed to be very dissatisfied with this matter and threw a tantrum. Chu Luiyue spent a lot of effort to pacify it. As for Rong Xiu, Chu Luiyue's ears heated up, and she closed her eyes. How could there be such a shameless person in this world? Lu Yu, why are your ears red? Mu Hongyu asked curiously. Chu Luiyue immediately shook her head. It's nothing. I came in a hurry. Mu Hongyu nodded understandingly and wrinkled her nose. You know that we have to leave early in the morning, so why did you come so late? If you didn't make it, I wouldn't have let you off. Chu Luiyue assured her that it would not happen again, so Mu Hongyu was relieved. With Mu Hongyu's introduction, Chu Luiyue met Liao Zhongshu, Sun Hu, and Gu Mingfeng. Just as Mu Hongyu had said, these people were all Stage 3 warriors, especially Gu Mingfeng. His aura fluctuated, and there were signs of him breaking through. As the team leader, Mu Hongyu queued up to collect the items. This time, Sun Zhongyan was in charge of leading the team. Under him were a few elders and dozens of teachers. When all the teams had gathered, Sun Zhongyan, who was standing at the front, spoke. Students, I believe that everyone has been looking forward to this trip to Wang Lin Mountain. This time, I'll be the leader. Other than me, Tianlu Academy will send 3 elders to each be in charge of one batch. Under each elder, there will be 10 teachers, and each teacher will be in charge of 3 teams. There's a signal tube in the things I gave you. If you encounter any danger, just pull it. Chu Luiyue looked at the thumb-sized black tube in her hand. There were 2 lines at the bottom. Pulling one line means asking the teacher for help. If he was in a life-and-death situation, he would pull both strings. The Academy's elders will immediately locate your location and head over to rescue you. Sun Zhongyan's voice was thick and clear. Is everyone clear? Sun Zhongyan paused for a moment, his expression turning serious. The Thousand Spirit Mountain Range's terrain is steep. During the demonic beast tide, it's even more dangerous. The slightest carelessness could cost him his life. So, no matter how much you want to hunt a satisfactory magical beast, you must remember that safety comes first. Everyone responded in unison. This student will remember your teachings. Sun Zhongyan nodded in satisfaction. Set off. There were so many people and none of them could fly. Naturally, they could only walk. Fortunately, the aptitudes of the students of the academy were excellent, and their progress was not slow. In addition, there were many people and the atmosphere was lively. It was a joyous journey. The topic of discussion was obviously related to Wang Lin Mountain and the magical beast tide. Some of the senior brothers and sisters who had been there would often talk about what had happened during the magical beast tide in the past 1 or 2 years, causing the freshmen to be even more curious. If only I had broken through to become a stage 4 warrior. Mu Hongyu muttered softly as she walked. She had been cultivating diligently during this period of time, and she was even close to breaking through. But for some reason she was still a little short. Originally, she had planned that if she could successfully break through, her strength would increase greatly. Then she would be able to choose a better and more satisfactory magical beast during this magical beast tide. But now, it seemed that this was not going to work. Hongyu, you can't rush cultivation. Liao Zhongshu gently reminded her. Of course, I know that. But who doesn't want to break through? Don't you want to? Liao Zhongshu did not argue with her and only shook his head with a smile. Mu Hongyu sighed. Why can't I be like Lu Yu? Although I'm a stage 1 warrior, I have the strength of a stage 3 warrior. I might even be stronger. Chu Luiyue smiled but did not say anything. She actually did not want to. Mu Hongyu looked at Gu Mingfeng again. Oh right, weren't you about to break through previously? Why haven't you done anything yet? Gu Mingfeng, who had been silent all this while, looked indifferent as he lightly said, It's probably not time yet. Chu Luiyue looked at him again and was in deep thought. Gu Mingfeng, doesn't seem to be that simple. A somewhat cold gaze suddenly fell on her body. Chu Luiyue's gaze moved slightly and met Chu Xinmin's gaze that was about to retract. That pair of eyes still had hatred and resentment that had not faded away in time. Chu Xianmin did not expect Chu Luiyue to be so sharp and hurriedly turned her gaze away. This was a rare opportunity that she begged for from the crown prince. She had to make good use of it. Chu Luiyue sneered in her heart. Chu Xianmin really did not give up on her evil intentions. Rong Jin did not come this time, which showed that the severity of the matter was far beyond her expectations. She just did not know what the situation in the imperial city would be like when she returned. After 2 days of trekking, the crowd finally arrived at the foot of Wang Lin Mountain on the morning of the 3rd day. Looking up, the mountains were undulating. Some were steep while some were beautiful. The entire mountain was covered in lush greenery. It was truly beautiful. Standing here, Chu Luiyue could already feel a subtle aura. Sun Zhongyan was still instructing the students bit by bit. The fiend title will appear in 2 days. Everyone, get ready to enter the mountain range. Remember, act according to your capabilities. You must not enter Wang Lin Mountain's hinterland. You must leave Wang Lin Mountain in 3 days. Yes. At the foot of the mountain and in a different environment, the students' voices were much louder. Every team started to move separately and quickly disappeared into the forest. Let's go too. Mu Hongyu's almond-shaped eyes were bright, and she was eager to try. Chu Luiyue looked up. The towering mountain range was as quiet as a sleeping beast, making one feel uneasy. She took a deep breath and suppressed the uneasiness in her heart. She followed Mu Hongyu and the rest into the forest. Wang Lin Mountain was vast. Chu Luiyue and the rest quickly separated from the others. The surroundings gradually became quiet. Only the sound of their feet stepping on the thick layer of leaves could be heard. The leaves swayed with the wind, and the mottled sunlight shone down. After walking for 2 hours, Mu Hongyu finally could not help but ask, Master Dongfeng, you said that the fiend tidal array is here. When the fiend tidal comes, fiends will appear in the periphery of the mountain range. We've been here for a while, but why haven't we seen a single fiend? Chu Liwei was about to speak when she suddenly felt a cold aura. Her expression turned stern as she looked in a certain direction. Come out. Mobile users, please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from Love Network. Chapter 126. Mu Hongyu and the rest were shocked, and they hurriedly looked over. However, there was no movement at all. In the quiet forest, everything was very calm. Mu Hongyu couldn't help but ask in a low voice, Lu Yu, did you sense wrongly? I don't feel the aura of a magical beast. Chu Liuyue's expression didn't change and his eyes were still fixed on that spot. If you don't come out, don't blame me for being rude. Mu Hongyu and the rest looked at each other. There were only trees around them. There wasn't even a tall bush. How could there be a magic beast hiding here? However, Chu Liuyue didn't look like he was joking. The rest of them subconsciously kept quiet. A moment later, the fallen leaves in front of them suddenly moved. There's something. Mu Hongyu and the rest immediately became alert. There really was a magical beast here. What is this? The few of them who were facing a great enemy were all stunned for a moment. Achoo! It's a little fox? Mu Hongyu blurted out. It's not a fox. It's a blood ferret. Chu Liuyue heaved a sigh of relief. The rest of them were shocked. The rumored most useless third-grade magical beast? Blood ferret? Puff. Chu Liuyue nodded. A third-grade magical beast was not considered to be of a particularly low level. However, the blood ferret's body was small and its attack power was not strong. Furthermore, it was too lively and active. It was not suitable to be a hunting magical beast. Such blood ferrets were usually kept as pets by the aristocratic families. Forget it then. The few of them were disappointed. They did not expect that the first demonic beast they encountered after entering Wanling Mountain would be a blood ferret. Chu Liuyue nodded. None of them had any magical beasts, so they came with high hopes. However, blood ferrets were not suitable for hunting. They ignored him and turned around to leave. However, just as Chu Liuyue was about to move, he suddenly stopped and lowered his head to look. At some point in time, the little thing had bitten the hem of her clothes and was looking at her eagerly. Chu Liuyue was silent for a moment. They did not want to hunt the blood ferret, but it seemed like it wanted to go with them. Chu Liuyue bent down and wanted to take it away. However, the little thing seemed to know her intention. It ran to the other side and bit her. The blood ferret was extremely fast. If Chu Liuyue caught it with her bare hands, she would definitely not be able to catch it. Hence, she did not move. Lu Yu, it seems to like you a lot. Mu Hongyu could not help but say with a curious look on her face. She had only heard of the blood ferret, but she had never seen one before. It looked quite cute. Chu Liuyue also found it strange and said to the little thing, Don't worry. She said to the blood ferret, We don't intend to do anything to you. You'd better not follow us. After saying that, the blood ferret blinked blankly. It seemed to take a while before it understood what Chu Liuyue meant. She didn't want it anymore. Tears quickly gathered in the blood ferret's eyes. Bean-sized teardrops fell down. It looked up at Chu Liuyue as if it was silently accusing her. Chu Liuyue was speechless. Something seemed wrong? Lu Yu, why don't we bring it along? You don't want it. Can't you just treat it as a pet? Otherwise, it will be lonely and pitiful. Mu Hongyu could not resist such a furry little thing. She could not help but say, Why don't we let it follow me? The blood ferret shook its head frantically. Mu Hongyu was a little disappointed. It seems like it only wants to follow you, Chu Liuyue thought for a moment. Then be obedient and we will take you with us. The blood ferret hurriedly nodded and jumped up. Like a red bolt of lightning, it scurried onto Chu Liuyue's shoulder. It squatted, swept its tail, and nestled on Chu Liuyue's shoulder. From afar, it looked like a furry red dumpling. It was light and not heavy at all. Chu Liuyue glanced at it, and her lips curved up. Let's go. After that, they continued to walk into the forest. Not long after, they encountered a third-grade fiend, Livid Horse. The Livid Horse was tall and was considered one of the stronger third-grade fiends. Livid horses have a cool temperament and are less aggressive. They usually don't take the initiative to fight people. They are suitable as mounts and not suitable for hunting, Liao Zhongshu said softly. Sen Hu was a little tempted at first, but when he heard that, he immediately dispelled the idea. Then let's continue to walk in. Maybe we can find a better one. After saying that, he took the lead and walked forward. However, the Livid Horse did not move aside. It stood in front of them and scratched the ground with its front hooves. It breathed heavily through its nose, and there was obvious hostility in its eyes. Sen Hu noticed that something was wrong and frowned. Bookworm, didn't you say that Livid Horses won't take the initiative to attack people? Why do I feel like it wants to fight with us? Liao Zhongshu was also a little surprised. It can't be, right? I have a few Livid Horses at home, and they are all very docile. Why is this? Could it be that the fiends in Wanling Mountain are all more ferocious? Before he could finish his sentence, the iron-green horse neighed and charged towards them at high speed. Sen Hu was the first to bear the brunt. He shouted as he bent his legs and raised his muscular arms. His fan-like palms were clenched into fists and suddenly punched. Extreme Fist. He was a third-grade warrior and had a strong physical body. The power of this punch was not to be underestimated. The punch was fierce as it went toward the Livid Horse. The Livid Horse raised its front hooves and was about to dodge the punch. Sen Hu immediately chased after him and actually dashed under the Livid Horse. Then, his fist turned into a claw and directly struck the Livid Horse's abdomen. Rip! The Livid Horse's abdomen was immediately torn open, and blood splattered everywhere. Sen Hu's face was also stained with some dirty blood. However, this made his fighting spirit even stronger. Die! He shouted and was about to take its life. At this moment, the Livid Horse suddenly raised its leg and kicked Sen Hu's chest. Be careful! Mu Hongyu and the rest sensed that something was wrong and immediately went forward to help. The Livid Horse was attacked from both sides and had no choice but to be distracted. Its attack power was greatly reduced. However, it was still ruthless and kicked Sen Hu's back. Sen Hu suffered a heavy blow and fell to the ground. He spat out a mouthful of blood and his face was much paler. Gu Mingfeng stared at the Livid Horse and saw a hint of red in its eyes. This beast is going crazy. Chu Luiyue frowned slightly. The Livid Horse was gentle by nature. Why would it attack them for no reason? And it was so crazy? At that moment, Mu Hongyu exclaimed, What? Luiyue, it's dangerous. Chu Luiyue looked up and saw that the Livid Horse had bypassed Mu Hongyu and the rest and was charging toward her. It was targeting her. Mobile users, please browse for a better reading experience from Love Network. Chapter 127. Chu Liyue's eyes darkened as he drew his sword from his waist and stabbed forward. That bright and sharp sword pierced the Steel Azure Horse's neck with unparalleled precision. The Steel Azure Horse let out a painful neigh as its eyes turned even crazier. Its body moved and it continued to attack Chu Liyue without a care for anything else. Chu Liyue's expression was cold as he flipped his wrist. That long sword suddenly slashed horizontally, forcefully severing the Steel Azure Horse's neck. Thump! The huge, greenish head fell to the ground with a dull thud. The wound that Chu Liyue had cut was still bleeding profusely. The Steel Azure Horse's eyes were wide open as it twitched twice before it stopped breathing very quickly. Chu Liyue sheathed her sword and glanced at the corpse on the ground as she thought to herself. She did not know this Steel Azure Horse and she had not done anything overboard. Why would it react like this? Mu Hongyu and the others were stunned for a while before they reacted to what had happened. You're too fast. Mu Hongyu asked in a daze. The few of them had attacked together but were unable to stop the berserk Iron Azure Horse. However, Chu Liyue had only used one sword strike to kill it. What kind of power did he need to do that? Damn. You were still holding back when you were competing with Chu Qianmin. Sen Hu, who had fallen to the ground, finally got up. However, he could not care less about the blood on his face and body. He only stared at Chu Luiwei in disbelief. He had fought the steel azure horse head-on just now and had experienced its power. Even someone as strong as him had suffered under the hooves of the steel azure horse. If Mu Hongyu and the others had not come to help, he might not have been its match. But Chu Luiwei had actually killed it so easily? Chu Luiwei collected her thoughts and looked up at the others. She shrugged. It wanted to kill me, so of course I wouldn't show it any mercy. As for the midterm assessment, didn't teachers say to stop when the time was right? Senhu stared at Chu Luiwei as he spoke so casually. He could not help but curse in a low voice. Chu Luiwei raised his chin. You can take the origin core. Senhu's eyes widened. What do you mean? Are you looking down on me? You killed the steel azure horse, so the origin core is naturally yours. I, Senhu, am not a greedy person. Chu Luiwei rubbed the area between his brows. This Senhu's personality was a little too straightforward. You were injured by it. If you don't rest well, you won't be able to recover without half a month. Take its origin core and use it to heal. You'll recover faster. The others were stunned by his words. Senhu was a little tempted, but he still asked doubtfully, Really? How do you know all this? Chu Luiwei could not be bothered with him. He turned and walked forward. It's just a third-grade origin core. It's not a good thing. It's fine if you don't want it. But if it affects our entire team, Hongyu won't let you off, let alone me. Mu Hongyu suddenly patted him on the shoulder. Didn't you hear what Liwei said? Hurry up and go. Senhu staggered from the pat, but he was not angry at all. Instead, he grinned. Then I'll take the origin core first. When we encounter other magical beasts in the future, I'll be at the front to help you. As he spoke, he walked to the side of the corpse and cut it open with his saber. From the steel azure horse's head, he took out a green pearl the size of a longan. On it, 3 veined patterns could be clearly seen. Senhu wiped off the blood on it, opened his mouth, and swallowed it. A warm current flowed through his lungs, and the heart-wrenching pain instantly lessened. Senhu's eyes lit up. It really works. Chu Luiwei did not turn back. The origin cores of magical beasts all contain some poison, and the steel azure horse is no exception. Every hour after that, cut your thumb and let out some blood. Do this 3 times, and the poison in the origin core will naturally be expelled. It would have been better to use the 3 pure leaves, but there doesn't seem to be any here. Let's use this stupid method for now. Her tone was light, as if it was a small matter. However, Mu Hongyu and the others were dumbfounded by what they heard. Chu Luiwei walked a few steps and realized that there was no movement behind her. She finally turned around, but saw that they were all looking at her strangely. What's wrong? Luiwei, how do you know so much? Mu Hongyu asked hesitantly. Gu Mingfeng, who had been silent all this while, suddenly spoke. Have you forgotten that she passed all 3 exams to get into the academy? Of course, that included Heaven Doctor. Actually, Mu Hongyu and the others could not be blamed for not remembering. On the day Chu Luiwei had been admitted to the academy, she had immediately participated in the Mystic Master and Warrior midterm examinations. She had placed 2nd and 1st respectively. It was really too dazzling. Not many people had really paid attention to Heaven Doctor. Now that Gu Mingfeng mentioned it, the few of them snapped out of their daze. Damn, I really forgot. Senhu smacked his head and gave Chu Luiwei a thumbs up. I'm impressed. Chu Luiwei, Senhu, am really impressed by you now. Chu Luiwei raised her brows slightly. It's just a superficial knowledge. It's nothing much. Let's continue walking in. All right. Mu Hongyu and the others responded in unison. Mu Hongyu had originally been the leader of their team, but unknowingly, they had already treated Chu Luiwei as their backbone. It was as if she could inexplicably convince people just by standing there. Gu Mingfeng followed at the back and narrowed his eyes. Chu Luiwei really only knew a little? The Iron Azure Horse was not considered common. Even if ordinary people had seen it, they might not know much about it. But Chu Luiwei actually knew something like how to expel the poison from the Iron Azure Horse original elixir. Could it really be such a coincidence? In the mountains, the sky always darkened very quickly. The sun set, the curtain of night hung high, and a bright moon hung in the sky. Why don't we rest here today? Mu Hongyu suggested as they walked to a relatively spacious area. However, Chu Luiyue suddenly pulled her back. Wait! Mu Hongyu looked at her strangely, only to see that Chu Luiyue's expression was vigilant and her brows were tightly furrowed, as if she was very nervous. She could not help but feel nervous as well. What's wrong? After what had happened in the day, she trusted Chu Luiyue the most now. If Chu Luiyue felt that something was wrong, then something was definitely wrong. Chu Luiyue pursed her lips tightly and did not speak. However, fine beads of sweat appeared on her forehead. What exactly is? Mu Hongyu stopped abruptly in the middle of her sentence. A pair of cold and glossy green eyes appeared in the darkness like two balls of will-the-wisp. There's a wolf? Chu Luiyue held her breath. It's not just one. The few of them looked at the same time and saw that next to the pair of green eyes, a second and a third pair had appeared. Very soon, they were surrounded by these cold eyes that looked like will-the-wisp. Greedy, cold and cruel. There was a dead silence in the forest, only endless murderous intent was spreading wildly. Chu Luiyue closed her eyes. It's a pack of wolves. Digression. Usually updated at 9 in the morning, mobile users please browse and read. For a better reading experience, please visit the website. Chapter 128. Chu Luiyue's eyes darkened. He drew his sword from his waist and stabbed it forward. That bright and sharp sword accurately pierced the livid horse's neck. The livid horse let out a painful neigh, and its eyes became even crazier. It moved its body and continued to attack Chu Luiyue without caring about anything else. Chu Luiyue's expression was cold as he flipped his wrist. The sword suddenly slashed horizontally and cut off the livid horse's neck. Plop! The livid horse's head fell to the ground with a dull thud. The wound that Chu Luiyue cut was still bleeding. The livid horse's eyes were wide open, and it twitched twice before it stopped breathing. Chu Luiyue put his sword away and looked at the corpse on the ground. He was deep in thought. She did not know this livid horse, and she did not do anything overboard. Why did it react this way? Mu Hongyu and the rest were stunned for a while before they realized what had happened. You're too fast. Mu Hongyu asked in a daze. The few of them had attacked the livid horse together, but they could not stop it. However, Chu Luiyue killed it with just one slash. How strong must he be to do that? F***CK. You were still holding back when you were competing with Chu Xianmin the other day? Sen Hu, who was lying on the ground, got up with much difficulty. He did not care about the blood on his face and body. He stared at Chu Luiyue with his eyes wide open in disbelief. He had a taste of the livid horse's abilities when he fought it head-on earlier. Even someone as strong as him had suffered under the livid horse's hooves. If Mu Hongyu and the rest did not help him, he might not have been its match. However, Chu Luiyue killed it so easily? Chu Luiyue collected his thoughts, looked up at the few of them, and shrugged. It wanted to kill me, so I naturally did not show it any mercy. As for the midterm assessment, didn't the teachers say not to go overboard? Sinhu stared at Chu Luiyue with his eyes wide open. He could not help but curse softly. Chu Luiyue raised his chin. You can have the pearl of essence. Sinhu's eyes widened. What do you mean? Are you looking down on me? You killed the livid horse, so its pearl of essence is naturally yours. I'm not a greedy person. Chu Luiyue rubbed his eyebrows. Senhu's personality was a little too straightforward. You were injured by it. If you don't recuperate, you'll need at least 10 days to half a month. If you take its origin pill and use your origin to heal, you'll recover faster. Senhu's words were stunned. Senhu's words, but he still doubtfully. Really? How do you know this? Chu Luiyue could not be bothered with him. He turned around and walked away. A mere third-grade pearl of essence is nothing. It's fine if you don't want it. But if it affects our entire team, Hongyu will be the first to come after you. Mu Hongyu had an epiphany and suddenly patted his shoulder. Didn't you hear what Luyu said? Why aren't you going? Senhu staggered from the slap, but he wasn't angry at all. Instead, he grinned. Then, I'll take the pearl of essence first. When we encounter other fiends, I'll definitely rush to the front to help you. As he spoke, he walked to the corpse and cut it open. From the head of the livid horse, he took out a green pearl the size of a longan fruit. 3 lines were clearly visible on the pearl. Senhu wiped the blood off the pearl and swallowed it. A warm current passed through his heart, and the heart-wrenching pain from before was instantly alleviated by a lot. Senhu's eyes lit up. It really works. Chu Liwei didn't turn around and lightly said, she said calmly, the pearl of essence of a fiend is more or less poisonous. The livid horse is no exception. After that, every hour, cut your thumb and let out some blood. Do this 3 times and you will naturally be able to expel the poison from the pill of essence. It would be better to use the 3 pure leaves, but I don't think there are any here. Let's use this stupid method for now. Her tone was light, as if this was just a small matter. However, Mu Hongyu and the rest were all dumbfounded. Chu Liwei walked a few steps and realized that there was no movement behind her. She finally turned around and saw that they were looking at her strangely. What's wrong? Liu, how do you know so much? Mu Hongyu asked hesitantly. Gu Mingfeng, who had been quiet all this while, suddenly spoke. Have you forgotten that she was admitted to the college after passing all 3 examinations? This naturally included the celestial physician. Actually, Mu Hongyu and the others could not be blamed for not remembering. On the day that Chu Liwei was admitted to the college, she directly participated in the Xian Master and Warrior midterm examinations. She came in 2nd place and 1st place respectively. It was truly too dazzling. Not many people paid attention to the celestial physician. Now that Gu Mingfeng mentioned it, the others suddenly snapped out of their daze. Damn, I really forgot. Senhu slapped his head and gave Chu Liwei a thumbs up. I'm impressed. Chu Liwei, Senhu really admire you now. Chu Liwei raised her brows slightly. It's just a superficial knowledge. It's not a big deal. Let's continue walking. Okay. Mu Hongyu and the others responded in unison. Originally, their team leader was Mu Hongyu, but unknowingly, they had already regarded Chu Liwei as their backbone. It was as if she could inexplicably convince others just by standing there. Gu Mingfeng followed at the back and narrowed his eyes. Chu Liwei really only knew a superficial knowledge? The livid horse was not considered common. Even if an average person had seen it, they might not know much about it. However, Chu Liwei actually knew how to expel the poison from the livid horse's pill of origin. Could it really be such a coincidence? The sky in the mountain forest always turned dark very quickly. The sun set and the curtain of night hung up. A bright moon hung in the sky. Shall we rest here first today? Mu Hongyu suggested as they walked to a more spacious area. Chu Liwei suddenly pulled her back. Wait. Mu Hongyu looked at her strangely and saw Chu Liu's vigilant expression. Her brows were tightly knitted as if she was very nervous. She could not help but feel nervous. What's the matter? After what happened during the day, she trusted Chu Liwei the most now. If Chu Liwei felt that something was wrong, then something was definitely wrong. Chu Liwei pursed her lips tightly and did not speak. However, fine beads of sweat appeared on her forehead. What on earth? Mu Hongyu abruptly stopped halfway through her sentence. A pair of cold green eyes appeared in the darkness like 2 balls of the wisps. There's a wolf? Chu Liwei held her breath. Not just one. The few of them looked over together and saw a 2nd and 3rd pair of green eyes appear one after another beside that pair of green eyes. Soon, they were surrounded by these cold eyes that looked like the wisps. Greedy, cold, cruel. There was a deathly silence in the forest. Only endless killing intent was spreading crazily. Chu Liwei closed her eyes. It's a pack of wolves. Digression. Usually updated at 9 a.m., mobile users please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from AI Network. Chapter 129. This is a 3rd-grade fiend, a red wolf. There must be at least a dozen of them. There are only 5 of us. How can we be their match? Mu Hongyu's face turned pale. They were too unlucky to encounter such danger as soon as they entered Wanling mountain range. If there were only 1 or 2 of them, they might have a chance of winning if they worked together. However, there were so many of them. Without a doubt, they would not be able to defeat them. Liao Zhongshu frowned and muttered, "That's not right. Although red wolves live in packs and are ferocious, they are also very arrogant. They rarely fight with people for no reason. We didn't do anything. Why are they targeting us?" Chu Liuyue's heart skipped a beat. She suddenly recalled that the livid horse seemed to be targeting her, for no reason. Could it be that these red wolves were also targeting her? The 2 parties were in a stalemate. The air seemed to have frozen. "What do you want?" After a short moment of dead silence, a cold voice broke the strange atmosphere. Chu Liyue suddenly spoke. At the same time, she took a step forward and stood in front of them. Mu Hongyu pulled her sleeve nervously. "Crazy. Those red wolves were so ferocious. If they went over now, they would be courting death." Chu Liyue patted her gently, indicating that she did not need to worry. However, Mu Hongyu still refused to let go. She was afraid that Chu Liyue would take things too hard and go over. "Luyu, we are no match for these things. Let's think of a way to escape. I'll send a message to the teachers and elders now and ask for their help." As she spoke, Mu Hongyu was about to take out the signal tube. Chu Liuyue's heart sank. She wanted to stop her. "Don't." Before she could finish her sentence, Mu Hongyu had already taken out the signal tube. A whir! A ferocious roar suddenly echoed through the forest. The sudden movement startled Mu Hongyu. She instinctively trembled and did not pull the signal tube in time. However, the surrounding pack of wolves suddenly walked forward. The encirclement became even tighter. Following that, the wolves raised their heads and howled. Oh! Under the moonlight, such a sound was particularly horrifying. Chu Liyue felt her organs tremble, and she knitted her brows tightly. With so many red-winged wolves, even if each of them bit them once, it would be more than enough for them to endure. They seemed to be angry? Sen, who was also sweating profusely from nervousness. Chu Liyue tightened his grip on the long sword in his hand. His muscles tightened as he secretly accumulated power. The red wolf is extremely intelligent and sensitive. When Snapper took out the signal tube, they knew that we were going to call for help. To them, this is a provocation. Mu Hongyu immediately panicked. So it was because of her? "I'm sorry, now is not the time to talk about this." Chu Liyue interrupted her with a reassuring tone. "Since they've set their sights on us, they won't leave easily. It's only a matter of time before they attack us." Although Mu Hongyu said that, she still blamed herself. Suddenly, the gathered wolves parted in the middle. A snow-white, muscular red-winged wolf slowly walked out from the back of the pack. Its fur was smooth and shiny. When it walked out of the darkness, the moonlight shone on its body, making it look particularly majestic. Most importantly, its eyes were filled with undisguised murderous intent. Chu Liyue saw it clearly and knew that there was no way for them to negotiate. He immediately reminded them in a low voice. "That's the Wolf King." They became even more cautious. The books say that every wolf pack has its own Wolf King. If the Wolf King is killed, then the wolf pack will suffer a huge blow and be defeated. Liao Zhongshu's voice was as soft as a mosquito's. They immediately understood what he meant. To catch bandits, first catch the Wolf King. They had no chance of winning against so many red-winged wolves. Their only hope was to kill the Wolf King as soon as possible. Only then would they have a chance of survival while the wolf pack was in chaos. "Leave the Wolf King to me. You guys wait for the right time to strike," Gu Mingfeng suddenly said. Chu Liyue looked back at him in surprise. He saw that the feminine face was expressionless. Only his clenched jaw showed that he was not as relaxed as he looked. In fact, Gu Mingfeng made this choice because he knew that the situation today was very dangerous. If they were not careful, they would all die here. He was the highest level among them. Naturally, he had to be at the forefront. Mu Hongyu and the others looked at each other. Everyone knew that this was the most dangerous situation. However, if something happened to Gu Mingfeng, The red-winged wolf's most powerful weapon is its sharp claws and teeth. Even if you don't die, you'll be crippled. Remember, don't fight it head-on. I'll support you, Chu Luiyue said in a low voice. He then instructed the others to do their best to stop the other red-winged wolves. As long as they had enough time, they might win. Mu Hongyu bit her lip. Yes, the situation is dangerous. The two of you must be careful. You too. After Chu Luiyue said that, he silently held the dagger in his other hand. The next moment, the Wolf King suddenly moved. It was extremely fast. It drew a snow-white trail in the air and appeared in front of them in the blink of an eye. Gu Mingfeng tapped his toes and flew forward. He raised his sword and slashed at the Wolf King. Almost at the same time, Chu Luiyue followed closely behind. In an instant, the two of them and the Wolf King were in a tripartite confrontation. On the other side, the wolf pack charged at them from all directions. Mu Hongyu and the other two had their backs against each other, forming a small protective circle. They began to fight with the wolf pack. Gu Mingfeng's sword was about to strike, but the Wolf King was faster. With a leap, it jumped onto a tree trunk at the side. It lowered its body and exerted force with its hind legs. Its entire body flew out rapidly. It charged in front of Gu Mingfeng in an instant. Gu Mingfeng was shocked. He immediately raised his sword to block in front of his chest. Whoosh! The sharp claws rubbed against the sword body, making an ear-piercing sound. Gu Mingfeng only felt his body being attacked by a heavy force. His body retreated a few steps uncontrollably. When he finally steadied himself, he quickly looked down and saw that there were already a few clear scratches on the sword body. It was left behind by the Wolf King just now. Its claws were actually so sharp. They were even more dangerous than swords. Gu Mingfeng's expression darkened. This Wolf King's strength was clearly about to break through to rank 4. He was definitely not a match for it just by relying on himself. Just as the thought flashed through his mind, he felt a gust of cold wind coming toward him. It was the Wolf King in hot pursuit and attacking again. He channeled his force and poured it into his sword. However, the Wolf King had already pounced on him at this time. Gu Mingfeng could not block it and directly crashed onto the ground. He wanted to get up and escape, but he could not move at all. He could only be slaughtered by the Wolf King. The Wolf King opened its bloody mouth. Its sharp teeth shone with a cold light as it bit at Gu Mingfeng's neck. A fishy smell hit him in the face. Gu Mingfeng could even feel its teeth pressing against his skin. Gu Mingfeng's blood seemed to have frozen at this moment. However, just as he thought that he was going to die, a biting cold aura suddenly attacked. Behind the Wolf King was Chu Luiyue's sword. Mobile users, please browse for a better reading experience from Love Network. Chapter 130. Sensing the danger, the Wolf King could only stop attacking Gu Mingfeng and turn to pounce on Chu Luiyue. Chu Luiyue's sword slashed across its back and the Wolf King's fur stood on end. It was as hard as steel needles. This sword strike only left an extremely shallow bloodstain on the surface. Chu Luiyue pursed her lips tightly. Although the king of the Crimson Wind Wolves was only a 3rd-grade magical beast, its strength was comparable to a 4th-grade magical beast. The most troublesome part was its fur. However, Chu Luiyue's attack had thoroughly enraged the Wolf King. After exchanging blows with Chu Luiyue, it landed on the ground not far away and was filled with cold, murderous intent. Awoo! The Wolf King raised its head and howled, then charged toward Chu Luiyue again. Chu Luiyue raised her sword and the man and beast clashed. The Wolf King bit the sword directly. Crack! The long sword broke. In Chu Luiyue's hand, there was only a broken sword left. The Wolf King followed closely. It went straight for Chu Luiyue's neck. Gu Mingfeng's heart suddenly felt empty when he saw this scene. However, Chu Luiyue did not retreat. Instead, she went forward and stabbed the remaining half of the sword into the Wolf King's mouth. The Wolf King let out a howl. The next moment, it seemed to have gone berserk and bit the broken sword into pieces. Blood splattered everywhere. Chu Luiyue felt a few drops of warm liquid on her face. The thick stench of blood was nauseating. She quickly let go of the sword hilt and retreated. The Wolf King went forward again. This time, its speed was even faster than before. Chu Luiyue could not dodge in time. When she looked up, she could already see the Wolf King's sharp teeth. She tilted her head and narrowly avoided the Wolf King's attack. The next moment, a cold, murderous intent flashed in her eyes. She bent her knee and raised her leg, then kicked the Wolf King in the stomach. To an ordinary person, this kick might be an extremely serious attack. However, to the Wolf King, whose physical strength was tyrannical, it was nothing. The Wolf King's movement only paused for a moment before it continued to attack. Its sharp claws went for the heart. Once it was hit, it would definitely die. Gu Mingfeng, who had just gotten up with difficulty, saw this scene and his heart was in his mouth. His pupils constricted. At this moment, a ray of light suddenly flashed. The Wolf King only saw a flash in front of its eyes, then felt a cold touch on its front leg. Its actions finally stopped, but it saw Chu Luiyue holding a dagger in front of her chest. Its front claws, which had attacked Chu Luiyue, had been chopped off. A moment later, an intense pain. Taking advantage of this short period of time, Chu Luiyue kicked it out again. The Wolf King lost its front paws and fell heavily to the ground heavily. With dust and blood all over his body, he looked like he was in a sorry state. Ming! Luiyue! Hurry! We can't hold on any longer. Mu Hongyu suddenly shouted. Chu Luiyue glanced sideways and saw that the three of them had already fallen into the pack of wolves. Their figures were almost buried in the wolves. Without hesitation, she quickly went forward and leaped. Her hand rose and the knife fell. The knife pierced through the Wolf King's head. A bloody hole instantly appeared in the Wolf King's head. Its eyeballs protruded and its flesh and blood rolled. It wanted to struggle to get up, but Gu Mingfeng immediately went forward and added another stab to the wound. It twitched a few times before it went completely silent. The wolf pack immediately sensed the Wolf King's death and it was followed by chaos. Not long after, the pack of wolves that had been attacking Mu Hongyu and the other two fled in all directions, disappearing into the dark forest without a trace. The surroundings finally quieted down again. Only the bloodstains on the ground and the Wolf King's corpse proved what had happened here. Chu Luiyue heaved a sigh of relief after confirming that the crisis was over. She took 2 steps back and leaned against a tree, panting heavily. Her current ability was not bad compared to Chu Xinmin's, but it was still very difficult for her to fight with a fiend of the Red Wolf King's level. The short exchange had almost depleted her energy. If she had not used the dagger to block the Wolf King's fatal attack, she might have been. Chu Luiyue lowered her head and looked at the dagger in her hand. The thin and sharp dagger had clear moonlight flowing on it, and there was not a trace of blood. However, she had already experienced its power earlier. This time, she really had to thank Rong Xiu. If it were her previous dagger, she definitely would not have been able to kill the Wolf King so easily. Unknowingly, Rong Xiu had saved her again. Chu Luiyue looked at the dagger in a daze. Luiyue, are you okay? Mu Hongyu rushed over and hurriedly sized up Chu Luiyue. Chu Luiyue snapped out of her daze and shook her head. I'm fine. Your arm is cut. Mu Hongyu wanted to heave a sigh of relief, but she saw that Chu Luiyue's right arm had a few cuts. Chu Luiyue glanced at it and did not seem to care. I was accidentally scratched by that beast just now. It's nothing. You guys were surrounded by the wolves. How are you? Mu Hongyu was relieved when she saw her calm expression and confident tone. Her expression darkened when she heard Chu Luiyue's question. I'm fine. It's just that Liao Zhongshu was seriously injured when he tried to protect me and Senhu. Chu Luiyue looked up and saw Liao Zhongshu sitting on the ground with Senhu supporting him. His face was covered in blood, and there was a shocking wound on his thigh. It seemed that a piece of flesh had been bitten off. She frowned and walked over. How are you? Liao Zhongshu's face was extremely pale, without a trace of blood. I'm fine. How can you be fine? Senhu was anxious and his eyes were filled with frustration. It's all my fault. The wolves pounced on me just now and I couldn't hold them back. Zhongshu tried to help me. Liao Zhongshu shook his head and said weakly, You were injured. It's normal that you couldn't hold them back. You don't have to blame yourself. We're on the same team, aren't we? His voice became softer and softer, and he looked like he would faint at any moment. Mu Hongyu was so anxious that her eyes turned red. Lu Yu, what should we do? You're a celestial physician. Do you have any ideas? Chu Luiwei bent down and carefully checked his injuries. She thought for a moment and shook her head. He's too badly injured. Even you can't do anything? Mu Hongyu's eyes became hot. She quickly turned her head and wiped the corners of her eyes. Among them, Lu Yu was the most capable. Even she said that she couldn't do it. The corners of Liao Zhongshu's mouth twitched, and he forced a smile. However, his pale face made him even more distressing. I know my own body. I'll help you stop the bleeding first. Sen Hu, pull Liao Zhongshu's signal tube and ask the teacher to take him away. He can't continue in this situation. Wanling Mountain's terrain was steep. After the arrival of the magical beasts, it would only become more dangerous. Liao Zhongshu had to go back and recuperate. They looked at each other and fell silent. Sen Hu lowered his head and finally took out Liao Zhongshu's signal tube. He pulled it. A firework suddenly rose into the sky. Mobile users, please browse for a better reading experience from Love Network. Chapter 131. Now that things had come to this, everyone decided to rest where they were. Mu Hongyu went to start a fire, and the group sat around it, waiting for their teacher's arrival. Chu Luiwei found some herbs nearby and bandaged Liao Zhongshu's wound, temporarily stopping the bleeding. The others were more or less injured, so she distributed the herbs and let them deal with it themselves. Finally, she applied the remaining herbs to her arm. The pain that had just subsided was stimulated by the herbs, causing her to frown. Someone walked over. Chu Luiwei looked up and saw Gu Mingfeng. Just now. Thank you. The flames leaped and shone on Gu Mingfeng's face, making his expression look even more obscure and unclear. Chu Luiwei shook her head. It's not worth mentioning. That Wolf King is powerful. You and I are no match for it alone. We can only win if we work together. Fortunately, we were lucky. Gu Mingfeng looked at her, many thoughts flashing through his mind. Chu Luiwei said it casually, but in that life-and-death struggle, the slightest carelessness could have cost them their lives. But Chu Luiwei didn't hesitate at all. Especially when he thought he was going to die under the Wolf King's fangs. If not for Chu Luiwei's timely appearance, he would be worse than Liao Zhongshu. She saved his life. But she didn't seem to care. Was there really such a selfless person in this world? Chu Luiwei sensed that Gu Mingfeng hadn't left, so she looked up at him and saw the surging emotions in his eyes. Gu Mingfeng frowned and immediately looked away. Chu Luiwei smiled inwardly. She had seen too many scheming people in her previous life. She could see through Gu Mingfeng's thoughts at a glance. Perhaps because of his background, he was a little gloomy and sensitive, and he subconsciously distrusted everyone. Even though they were in the same team, Chu Luiwei believed that Gu Mingfeng had never cared about their lives. The main reason he was willing to deal with the Wolf King was because he wanted to save his own life. I saved you out of convenience. You don't have to take it to heart. In that kind of situation, if it was anyone else, I would have taken action. Chu Luiwei said indifferently. Gu Mingfeng was shocked. Only then did she realize that her thoughts had been seen through by Chu Luiwei. He frowned and felt a little uncomfortable. He turned around and planned to leave. After taking a step forward, he stopped. No matter what, I owe you one this time. After he finished speaking, he walked to a spot far away and sat down. He closed his eyes and adjusted his breathing. Chu Luiwei looked at him thoughtfully. His impression of him improved a little. Gu Mingfeng was much better than his half-sister, Gu Mingzhu. After waiting for about an hour, Teacher Wen Yan, who was leading the team, finally arrived. He looked travel-worn and there were sporadic bloodstains on his body, as if he had just been through a fight. Seeing that Chu Luiwei and the others were injured, he quickly stepped forward and asked, "What's the matter? You were also attacked by magical beasts?" Also? Chu Luiwei's heart skipped a beat. How did Teacher Wen Yan know? Wen Yan frowned. Lu Fian and the others also encountered the same situation. Of the 5 of them, 3 were severely injured and 2 were lightly injured. I received their distress signal 2 hours ago. I just sent them out and rushed over. Mu Hongyu and the others were also shocked. It's that serious? Mr. Wenyan nodded solemnly. Indeed. According to them, they were attacked by Cloud's Urge leopards. Cloud's Urge leopards were third-tier magical beasts, and they were powerful and ferocious. It was no wonder Lu Fian and the others were in such a miserable state. Then, they all left and withdrew from this hunt? Yes. The 3 of them are severely injured and no longer have the strength to fight. The remaining 2, Lu Fian and Lu Fian, are also trembling in fear after this battle. As Wen Yen spoke, he walked to Liao Zhongshu's side. After examining him carefully, he heaved a sigh of relief. Even though they are severely injured, it's fortunate that we managed to save them in time. It's not too late to return now. Liao Zhongshu knew that he would only be a burden to everyone if he stayed. Then, I'll have to trouble teacher Wen Yen. Wen Yen sighed. Zhongshu, you're very talented. You could have hunted a suitable magical beast this time. Unfortunately, there was no need to think about it now. Liao Zhongshu's pale lips twitched as he smiled weakly. Teacher Wen Yen, don't worry. I know that my life is more important. It's good that you can think this way. When you recover, there will be more opportunities. It's not worth it for a moment of anger. Wen Yen was relieved as he looked at Chu Liwei and the others. Then what about the 4 of you? Sen Hu said in a rough voice. Of course, we have to continue. It would be too cowardly if they retreated just like that. Liao Zhongshu almost lost his life to help them resist the wolf pack. If they also retreated, what was the point? Are you sure? Teacher Wen Yen sighed. Wanling Mountain is very strange this time. Some magical beasts that were originally active in the inner area have appeared in the outer area. They are very aggressive. I contacted the other teachers just now and many teams have encountered the same situation. If we continue to go deeper, I'm afraid it will be dangerous. Sen Hu was stunned. He scratched his head and instinctively looked at Chu Liwei. Mu Hongyu and Gu Mingfeng also looked over at the same time. Luyu, what do you think? Mu Hongyu asked. Teacher Wen Yen was a little surprised. Wasn't the leader of their team Mu Hongyu? Why did it seem like Chu Liwei was the backbone now? Chu Liwei thought for a moment and calmly glanced at them. I choose to continue. Mobile users, please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from Love Network. Chapter 132. But let's continue. Mu Hongyu seemed to have taken a calming pill. She clenched her fists, and her hesitant expression became firm. Sen Hu nodded. Let's continue. We'll follow you. Although Gu Mingfeng didn't say anything, he nodded in agreement. Teacher Wen Yen stared blankly. This team. Was Chu Liwei the one in charge? She said to continue, but the others didn't have any objections. They seemed to be more confident than before. They had only been in Wanling Mountain for a day. What happened to them? Liu, are you sure? Mr. Wen Yen hesitated for a while and tried to dissuade them. Wanling Mountain is different from before. It's much more dangerous. Even if you really want to hunt magical beasts, I'm afraid now is not the best time. Since we're already here, there's no reason to retreat. Chu Liyue's tone was very light, but it was steady and had the power to make others feel at ease. Mr. Wen Yen, you can bring Liao Zhongshu back. I know what I'm doing and won't risk my life. If we go back now, we'll be unwilling. Mr. Wen Yen was anxious. Liwei, I know that the few of you aren't weak, and you all have pride in your hearts. But now you're all injured. Look at the mess. Do you think I don't know how dangerous it was? As he spoke, he suddenly saw the carcass of a fiend lying not far away. His voice stopped abruptly. That was a red wolf? You were attacked by a red wolf? He came in a hurry, so he didn't see the carcass of the red wolf. Mu Hongyu still had lingering fears. Mr. Wen Yen, that's the carcass of the Red Wolf King. We were attacked by a pack of red wolves just now. This sentence made Teacher Wen Yen so shocked that he was speechless. He stepped forward and took a closer look. It was indeed the Wolf King. Although it was covered in dust and blood, its pierced head was obvious. You killed it? Lu Yu and Ming Feng killed him together. Mu Hongyu sighed. The three of us were in charge of stopping the wolf pack. Zhongshu was seriously injured because he tried to save me and Senhu. Teacher Wen Yan opened his mouth, but he couldn't say anything. Only his heart was filled with shock. Red Peak Wolves. And the Wolf King. Yet, the few of them had actually managed to withstand such a battle. Moreover, other than Liao Zhongshu, the other four seemed to have only suffered some superficial wounds. Although he knew that these people had good rankings in the midterm assessment and could be considered a strong alliance, he did not expect them to be able to reach this step. He was silent for a long time. Chu Luiwei looked at the dancing flames in front of him and said softly, "Don't worry. Teacher Wen Yan, I know you're worried about us. But the path of cultivation had always been like this. If one was blindly greedy for comfort, then one would never be able to become a true expert. What do you think?" Wen Yan was shocked and looked at Chu Luiwei with a complicated expression. "You're right. Teacher has been overthinking things. How could one grow if they were afraid of everything? Then I'll send Zhongshu out first. You guys be careful. If anything goes wrong, immediately ask for help." Chu Luiwei and the others nodded. "Teacher, don't worry." After Teacher Wen Yan left with Liao Zhongshu, the few of them decided to take turns to rest. The first one was Chu Luiwei. She was considered to be the one with the lighter injuries among them, so she let the others rest and recover their vitality first. The surroundings fell silent again. Chu Luiwei sat cross-legged and adjusted her breathing. The scene of her battle with the Wolf King today kept replaying in her mind. This body was still too weak. When she returned, she should consider improving her physical strength. Chu Luiwei felt a weight on her shoulder. She turned her head and saw a furry red dumpling squatting on top of her. "You're quite smart. You ran quickly when you encountered danger and came back when it was over." Chu Luiwei poked it lightly. The blood ferret's fluffy tail moved, revealing a pair of round eyes that were full of flattery. Chu Luiwei raised her eyebrows and looked at it. The blood ferret moved closer and carefully extended its two claws to bow. It looked wronged and worried, and tears quickly gathered in its eyes. It was as if it would cry if Chu Luiwei was a little more strict. She couldn't blame it for looking like this. Chu Luiwei rubbed her forehead. There was a reason why blood ferrets were known as the weakest third-rank demonic beasts. It didn't have any other abilities, but its escaping speed was top-notch. She didn't really mean to blame it. Was she counting on this little thing to help them defeat the Red Summit Wolves? Forget it. As long as you're happy. Chu Luiwei tapped its head. Realizing that Chu Luiwei wasn't really angry, the little thing relaxed. It intimately moved forward and rubbed its head against her face. Chu Luiwei's lips curved slightly. Nothing happened that night. Early the next morning, they set off again and headed into Wan Spirit Mountain. The forest was lush, and the deeper they went, the quieter it was. However, such an environment made them more vigilant. "This place seems a little strange." Mu Hongyu looked around and muttered softly. Chu Luiwei, who was walking in front, suddenly stopped. The others also stopped. "Lu Yu, is there a problem?" Mu Hongyu asked. After what happened the day before, they were very confident in Chu Luiwei. Chu Luiwei frowned slightly. "Let's go back." "Go back? But we just arrived here." They were very puzzled, but when they saw Chu Luiwei's serious expression, they didn't say anything else. However, just as they turned around and walked a few steps, a woman suddenly screamed behind them. Digression: yesterday, when I was writing, I fell asleep while sitting down. Later, it will drop at 5 p.m. Please check your mobile phone users. A better reading experience comes from Love Network. Chapter 133. Although the voice was sharp, Chu Luiwei was very familiar with it. Gu Mingfeng's eyebrows twitched slightly, but he did not say anything. This voice? Why does it sound so familiar? Mu Hongyu wanted to look back, but Chu Luiwei pulled her back. "Let's go. Otherwise, we'll be the ones crying for help." Mu Hongyu was shocked and hurriedly followed him. The few of them quickly retreated back the way they came, but the screams did not stop. They were even getting closer. Help! The screams were accompanied by messy footsteps. It was obvious that someone was running for their life. Gu Mingzhu wanted to hunt a satisfactory fiend in one spirit mountain this time. Her family had suggested that they help her choose one, but she was arrogant and refused to let others help her. She wanted to hunt by herself. Thus, she had been looking forward to this fiend tide for a long time. However, she did not expect to be in danger after just one day in one spirit mountain. She ran forward in a panic. Her heart was beating so violently that it almost jumped out of her mouth. Actually, she had used up all her energy, but she did not dare to stop. She could only keep running forward. She did not even dare to look back. In a blur, she seemed to see a few figures in the distance. Although she could not see their faces clearly, they were wearing Tianlu Academy's uniform. She was elated and quickly called for help. However, those people did not come over. After hearing her call for help, they started to retreat. Gu Mingzhu became anxious and used the last of her energy to chase after them. Help! I'm also a student of Tianlu Academy. You guys help me. Senhu could not help but look back when he heard this voice. His eyes immediately widened when he saw what was on the screen. Gu Mingzhu. Senhu knew Gu Mingzhu, but Gu Mingzhu did not know him. After all, she had always looked down on martial artists. Thus, other than the most famous ones, she had never looked at anyone else. When she heard that Senhu recognized her, she was elated. I'm Gu Mingzhu. If you help me, I'll thank you properly when I get back. Chu Liwei suddenly stopped and looked in front of her with a serious expression. Mu Hongyu and the others sensed that something was wrong and stopped as well. Only then did Gu Mingzhu look at them carefully. Other than Senhu, the other three had their backs facing her. However, this back view was very familiar. She stared at him for a while, then frowned and asked suspiciously, Gu Mingfeng? Gu Mingfeng turned his head and looked at her expressionlessly. Gu Mingzhu showed a look of disgust. It really is you. I'm really unlucky to have met you today. His tone and expression didn't seem like he had seen a family at all. Instead, it seemed like he had seen something dirty. Gu Mingfeng's eyes flashed with coldness. Lu Yu, is there a problem? Mu Hongyu asked in a low voice. Hearing this name, Gu Mingzhu's eyes widened in shock. Wait a minute. No wonder she felt that it was familiar. This back, wasn't it Chu Liwei? Her expression became even more unsightly. It's disgusting enough to meet Gu Mingfeng, but I didn't expect there to be another one. Senhu scolded loudly, watch your words. Gu Mingzhu was startled by his thunderous roar, but she felt even more disgusted. Martial artists were so vulgar. Birds of a feather flocked together. Each of these people was more annoying than the last. Chu Liwei turned around and looked at Gu Mingzhu coldly. We're the unlucky ones to have met you. Gu Mingzhu shuddered under her gaze. What do you mean by that? You clearly heard my call for help, but you pretended not to hear it. You're the ones who, I heard it. Chu Liwei interrupted her and spoke bluntly. I just don't want to help you. Do you have a problem with that? Gu Mingzhu was so angry that her face turned pale. Chu Liwei, even if you don't like me, we're still from the same school. How can you leave me in the lurch? You're too selfish. Chu Liwei sneered. We don't have any relationship with you. Why should we help you? You're too thick-skinned. You, on the other hand, brought us a lot of trouble. I'll remember this. Gu Mingzhu immediately felt guilty. You, what nonsense are you talking about? What trouble did I bring you? She stuttered for a long time, but she couldn't say anything. Mu Hongyu and the others also felt uneasy when they saw her like this. A roar suddenly came from the forest. Even the ground seemed to tremble. Bang, bang, bang. It was as if something heavy had fallen to the ground. It was so heavy that it made people panic. The few of them turned their heads to look, only to see a huge figure approaching them from the forest in front of them. Wherever it passed, the thick trees were easily deduced. Finally, a huge brown bear the size of a small mountain appeared in front of them. Its entire body was brownish red. Only its neck was golden, and it shone dazzlingly under the sunlight. The most frightening thing was the terrifying aura coming from its body. Sinhu's jaw dropped. This is a 4th grade golden mane bear. Gu Mingfeng immediately reacted. He looked at Gu Mingzhu and said coldly, "Did you provoke it?" Gu Mingzhu avoided his gaze and forced herself to say, I just thought that the golden mane bear was powerful and had a high level, so I wanted to give it a try, idiot. Mu Hongyu could not wait to give Gu Mingzhu 2 tight slaps. Who do you think you are? You even dare to provoke a golden mane bear. Where are the rest of your team? Gu Mingzhu's face instantly turned pale. This strange silence immediately made them understand what had happened. They're all dead. Sinhu asked in shock. Oh no. 2 of them got separated from me. I don't know where they went. Gu Mingzhu tried to explain herself, but her voice sounded even more guilty. That meant 2 of them were dead. Gu Mingzhu's team was made up of Xian masters. This kind of loss was tragic. So, after killing 2 Xian masters, you want to drag us down with you? Chu Liuyue's voice was cold. Gu Mingzhu's lips moved, and she turned her head away. You guys came here on your own accord. I didn't force you guys to come. Anyway, we're all in the same boat now. None of us can escape. You guys can do whatever you want. Mu Hongyu was stunned by how shameless Gu Mingzhu was, but she was still clear-headed. She knew that this wasn't the time to argue with Gu Mingzhu. Lu Yu, this golden mane bear is 4th grade. Can we win if we work together? Chu Luiyue was so angry that he laughed. Golden mane bears are extremely strong and powerful. It's not easy to deal with them. More importantly, it's a female bear. Everyone was shocked. You mean? Chu Luiyue stepped forward and stared at her. What did you do? Why is this female bear chasing after you like this? Gu Mingzhu had no choice but to speak in frustration. I just wanted to take the golden mane bear cub away while it was out looking for food. I was discovered as soon as I came out. I didn't take the golden mane bear cub with me. Adult golden mane bears weren't easy to tame. Newborn golden mane bears were the easiest to tame, so she took the risk. The others agreed as well. They're all going together. You can't blame me for all of their deaths. She just didn't expect to be discovered. Chu Luiyue wanted to strangle her to death. Do you know that golden mane bears are extremely protective? If you touch its cub, it will chase after you until it's dead. It doesn't matter if you die, but can you afford to implicate us? Digression. Are you guys the devil if there are more chapters today? Mobile users, please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from Love Network. Chapter 134. Gu Mingzhu's eyelids twitched when she heard the words, "Fight to the death." She took a deep breath and forced herself to stand firm. Chu Luiyue, I'm not scared. You don't have to make up these lies to scare me. The golden mane bear is powerful, but I didn't bring its cub out. It's still in its cave. This golden mane bear wouldn't, you should know better than us. Chu Liuyue's face seemed to be covered with a layer of frost. His cold gaze made Gu Mingzhu even more nervous. She opened her mouth and wanted to explain, but under Chu Liuyue's gaze, she couldn't say a word. In the end, she could only turn her head away awkwardly. Actually, she also felt that something was wrong. After being discovered by the golden mane bear, she knew that it was bad. She immediately threw the cub back and ran away. But the golden mane bear seemed to have set its sights on her and chased her all the way. Wherever she went, it would follow. This was also why she was so nervous when she called for help. She knew that the golden mane bear was behind her and could kill her at any time. She also knew that Chu Liuyue's words were most likely true. Seeing Gu Mingzhu like this, Mu Hongyu and the rest understood everything. They were so angry that their teeth were itching. This was the same as pushing them into the fire pit. If it wasn't for Gu Mingzhu, they wouldn't be in so much trouble. Just as they were confronting each other, the golden mane bear took another step forward. Bang! The ground trembled, causing their hearts to feel uneasy. Chu Luiyue looked back. The golden mane bear stood not far from them. Many of the trees around it were broken, and the ground was a mess. It looked down at them from above. Its gray eyes were the size of a fist, cold and cruel. Chu Luiwei could clearly feel the anger in its eyes, as well as a bit of disdain as if it was looking at an ant. Usually, magical beasts of this size would win with strength. They were more or less lacking in speed. But the golden mane bear was an exception. With its ability, it would be easy for it to kill Gu Mingzhu. However, Gu Mingzhu had survived until now and had even run so far away. Without a doubt, it wanted to use this method to force Gu Mingzhu to the brink of collapse. Only when she had suffered enough pressure and pain would it be willing to make a move. They just didn't expect that they would be so unlucky to run into it. This time, the golden mane bear was going to take care of them as well. Lu Yu, how are we going to escape? Even Mu Hongyu, who had always been bold, realized the seriousness of the matter and asked nervously. You can't escape. An adult golden mane bear's combat power is almost comparable to a rank 5 warrior. Even if we join forces, we have no chance of winning. Besides, we're all injured now. Then what should we do? Are we going to die here today? Chu Luiwei held his breath. You guys hold it back first, I'll cast the Xian formation. As soon as he said this, everyone was shocked. Xian formation? Now that we are all injured, the power of the Xian formation is even greater. Mu Hongyu secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Gu Mingfeng suddenly thought of something. What level are you as a mystic cultivator now? Chu Luiwei paused. Level 2. As soon as he said this, the surroundings suddenly quieted down. Gu Mingzhu seemed to have heard the funniest joke in the world. She laughed mockingly and asked exaggeratedly, Level 2 mystic cultivator? Chu Luiwei, are you kidding me? You want to defeat the golden mane bear with this level? Are you dreaming? Chu Luiwei's expression was calm. She had only been reborn for about 2 months, so the amount of heaven and earth force she could control was limited. For now, she could only cast a level 2 Xian formation. Even Mu Hongyu and the rest looked disappointed. A level 2 mystic cultivator? They really didn't stand a chance. Gu Mingzhu broke through to level 3 a while ago, but she was still not this fellow's match, let alone them. Senhu Hongyu, think of a way to hold back the golden mane bear later. Gu Mingfeng, help me cast the Xian formation. Chu Luiwei gave a concise and powerful order. Mu Hongyu and Senhu looked at each other and nodded. But no matter what, they had to give it a try. Gu Mingfeng frowned slightly. I'm not a mystic cultivator. How can I help you? Chu Luiwei explained, when I cast the Xian formation, you just have to inject your force into it. Gu Mingfeng frowned even more. How can a mystic cultivator use other people's force to cast a Xian formation? If that was really the case, couldn't a mystic cultivator just have to find someone to help during a battle? If their force was incompatible, how could a Xian formation be cast? Not to mention this golden mane bear. Chu Luiwei shook her head. I will solve this problem. As long as you help me with all your strength. Gu Mingfeng saw that she was calm and seemed to have a card up her sleeve. He hesitated for a moment before finally agreeing. I still owe you a favor, so I will definitely do my best. Chu Luiwei looked at him with a faint smile. I hope you can do as you say. Gu Mingfeng's heart skipped a beat. He didn't know why, but he felt that Chu Luiwei seemed to have noticed something. He opened his mouth to say something, but he saw that Chu Luiwei had already held her breath and raised her hands to set up the Xian formation. Mu Hongyu and Senhu both went forward and blocked the golden mane bear. The golden mane bear lowered its eyes, which were full of mockery and contempt, as if it was mocking them for overestimating their abilities. Senhu, I'll take the front and you back. Mu Hongyu shouted and jumped up. But Senhu immediately responded and broke through from another direction. The golden mane bear looked at the lowly human in front of it and mercilessly slapped her with its paw. Mu Hongyu narrowly avoided it and landed on a tree trunk at the side. Even though the paw didn't hit her, the sharp wind from the paw still made Mu Hongyu feel a burning pain on her face. It wasn't hard to imagine how serious the injury would be if the paw really landed on her body. Mu Hongyu blinked her eyes with lingering fear, but she didn't dare to relax. Instead, she provoked the golden mane bear again. Come on. The golden mane bear was furious and slapped her again. Mu Hongyu was agile. With a flash of her shadow, she had already jumped over the golden mane bear's head and landed on the other side. But the tree she was previously on was suddenly split open. On the other side, Sen Hu was also provoking the golden mane bear. The two of them went back and forth, causing the golden mane bear to fly into a rage. The surrounding trees were all swept away. It was a mess. Chu Liuyue's finger gently moved in the air. A silver arc flowed out from her fingertip like water. Soon, a second and third arc appeared. In just a moment, more than 10 silver arcs appeared in front of Chu Liyue. These arcs overlapped with each other and formed a strange pattern. From afar, it looked like an 8 trigrams array. However, it looked a little empty, which was very strange. Gu Mingfeng stood not far from her and stared at her intently. The force in his body surged, and he was ready to take action at any time. However, Chu Liyue stared at the Xian array in front of her and didn't seem to have any intention of asking him to help. Gu Mingfeng frowned and looked at the Xian array. He found it strange. He had seen Xian masters in action before. In his impression, a second-level Xian array didn't take this long to set up. Moreover, Chu Liuyue's Xian array looked a little strange. It seemed too empty. Soon he realized that Chu Liyue didn't stop. Instead, silver arcs flowed out from her fingertips. Her Xian array was still going on. Mobile users, please browse for a better reading experience from Love Network. Chapter 135. Gu Mingzhu, who was watching from afar, finally realized that something was amiss. She put down her crossed arms and frowned. That's not right. Chu Liyue is a level 2 Xian master. Logically speaking, she should be able to control a dozen heaven and earth force at the same time. Why is she still continuing? Her movements are smooth and natural, as if she's very relaxed. As time passed, the Xian formation in front of Chu Liyue gradually became more complicated. Gu Mingfeng's eyelids twitched. No wonder he felt that the Xian formation looked weird. It was just a rough outline. After Chu Liyue slowly filled it up, it finally looked normal. Even from a distance, Gu Mingfeng could already faintly feel the power contained in it. He was even more shocked. Didn't Chu Liyue say that she's only a level 2 Xian master? This Xian formation's level is obviously higher. What is Chu Liyue planning to do? Compared to Gu Mingfeng, who didn't know much about Xian formations, Gu Mingzhu, who was also a Xian master, was already stunned. She could clearly see that Chu Liyue's Xian formation had already reached level 3. However, Chu Liyue didn't seem to have any intention of stopping. Could it be that she wants to continue? How can she do that? Mu Hongyu and Sen, who had been fighting with the golden mane bear for a long time. Both of them were injured, and their strength was almost depleted. The golden mane bear was already furious after being toyed with by the two of them. It kept attacking them violently. Lu, are you done? Mu Hongyu was careless and was affected by the force. She fell out pathetically, and her face and body were covered in scratches. Chu Liyue stared at the Xian formation in front of her. Just a few more minutes. Mu Hongyu gritted her teeth. A few minutes wasn't long, but the key was that they were facing a golden mane bear that was far stronger than them. Every minute and every second was torture. However, she still agreed without hesitation. Okay. She couldn't care less about her injuries and immediately stood up. Hongyu, move aside. Sen Hu suddenly roared. Mu Hongyu's heart skipped a beat. She looked over and saw that Sen Hu had suddenly charged towards the golden mane bear. Mu Hongyu's heart suddenly jumped. Sen Hu had a strong body and was considered very tall and sturdy among them. However, when he stood in front of the golden mane bear, he instantly looked much smaller. Did he want to die? Facing the attack head-on was extremely dangerous. The golden mane bear looked at Sen Hu, who was charging in front of it. Its eyes were burning with anger, and it suddenly opened its mouth to spit out a ball of red flames. Damn it! This guy still has tricks up his sleeve. Sen Hu cursed inwardly as he lowered his body to avoid the fireball. However, the high temperatures still made him feel a burning sensation on his face. But then, he pressed his palm against the ground and crawled toward the golden mane bear. An axe appeared in his hand and he swung it at the golden mane bear. Clang! The axe fell, but the golden mane bear was unharmed. Senhu felt as if his axe had landed on an extremely hard metal rock. The impact caused the web between his thumb and forefinger to split open, and he could not feel half of his arm. He knew that this was not good. This guy's physical strength was stronger than he had imagined. However, this time, the golden mane bear was completely enraged. It roared angrily, and its powerful aura almost shattered Senhu's eardrums. Roar! At the same time, a large palm slapped towards his head. If he was hit, he would definitely die. Senhu held his breath and ran half a circle around the golden mane bear's thigh. He ran behind it and avoided the attack with great difficulty. The golden mane bear's speed and strength were extremely strong. Only in close combat could Senhu have the upper hand. However, this situation did not last for long. After failing to catch him twice, the golden mane bear gave up on him and turned to charge towards Chu Luiyue. It already felt a little uneasy and had to stop Chu Luiyue immediately. Senhu panicked and went forward to hug the golden mane bear's thigh. The golden mane bear swung its leg and easily flung him away. He landed heavily on the ground. After being hit repeatedly, Senhu's internal organs were almost shattered. The combination of new injuries and old injuries caused him to spit out a mouthful of blood. His breathing instantly weakened. However, just as he took a step forward, another person pounced on him. It was Mu Hongyu. At this moment, her strength was completely exhausted. She could only use the most clumsy and dangerous method like Senhu. "Luyu, quick!" she shouted anxiously. Her throat was already filled with the thick smell of blood. At this moment, the Xian formation in front of Chu Luiyue was finally completed. Her face was pale, and her body was trembling because she had forcefully created a formation that was higher than her current strength. It was as if she would collapse at any moment, but her eyes were as resolute as before. Gu Mingfeng. Just as Chu Luiyue spoke, Gu Mingfeng immediately took action. With a push of his palm, strong force flowed into the Xian formation. Buzz! In an instant, the Xian formation shone brightly. The Xian formation, which was originally the size of a chessboard, expanded rapidly after Gu Mingfeng's force flowed in. Chu Luiyue stared at it and merged the two strength bit by bit. In a moment, the Xian formation had expanded to the height of a person. Light flowed and there was a faint pressure. Chu Luiyue felt as if all the strength in his body had been emptied. He was extremely weak, and his vision was turning black. From the corner of his eyes, the golden mane bear impatiently flung Mu Hongyu away and raised its leg, intending to stomp on her. The force of its kick was as strong as 1,000 caddies. Mu Hongyu lay on the ground, covered in blood. She no longer had the strength to move. Seeing the huge bear paw coming towards her, she closed her eyes in despair. Chu Luiyue clenched his teeth. Go! Boom! The Xian formation suddenly exploded. In an instant, countless rays of light shot out like a rushing river and went straight for the golden mane bear. A vast pressure instantly enveloped it. The golden mane bear sensed the danger, and panic flashed across its face. However, that terrifying power had already landed on its body. Its huge body seemed to be drowned by the rushing river. Everyone could only see countless silver lines twisting together. It locked the golden mane bear in place. Seeing this, Gu Mingzhu finally couldn't help but exclaim, "Fourth grade wood origin formation? Chu Luiyue actually used a Xian formation of this level?" Mobile users, please browse for a better reading experience from Love Network. Chapter 136. The streams of light continued to tighten. The golden mane bear kept struggling, but it was futile. It couldn't break free no matter how hard it tried. Not long after, its movements gradually slowed down. Its angry roars also gradually weakened. In the end, it stopped moving and didn't make any more sounds. Only the ground was covered in blood. It dyed a large area red, and it looked especially bloody and terrifying. When the light completely dissipated, Everyone was finally able to see the scene inside. The golden mane bear, which was originally burly, had lost a lot of weight. Its body was covered in wounds, and it looked strangely twisted. The blood on the ground came from its body. Mu Hongyu only took one look before she couldn't help but turn her head away and retch. Sen, who was barely holding on, but the last bit of color had faded from his pale face. Only Gu Mingfeng was better. When he saw this scene, his eyelids only twitched. His heart was finally at ease. After solving this thorny problem, they were finally safe. But, however, more problems were quietly arising. He couldn't help but look at Chu Luiyue. He saw that the girl's expression was still very calm. Apart from her pale face from using the Xian formation, there wasn't a trace of emotion in her eyes. It was as if she didn't mind the terrifying scene in front of her. That's right. She was the one who caused this scene. If she hadn't used the Xian formation to kill the golden mane bear, they wouldn't even know if they were still alive. What kind of person was she? How could she? Gu Mingfeng pursed his lips. He had long known that Chu Luiyue wasn't ordinary. However, after today's battle, he realized that she was even more unfathomable than he had imagined. After confirming that the golden mane bear was dead, Chu Luiyue finally heaved a sigh of relief. The moment she relaxed, exhaustion overwhelmed her. She didn't even have the energy to move her fingers. She said to Gu Mingfeng, although it's a pity that its body was destroyed, its core of essence should still be around. You can go and retrieve it. Gu Mingfeng shook his head. You killed it. It should belong to you. Chu Luiyue thought that if she wasn't so tired, she would have gone to get it herself. The blood ferret that had disappeared earlier appeared once again. It skipped towards the golden mane bear's mouth. With a swipe of its claws, it easily found a faint red essence pill. It wiped it clean with its tail like it was a treasure and returned to Chu Luiyue. It held it with its two paws and presented it to Chu Luiyue as if it was presenting a treasure. Its round eyes stared at Chu Luiyue without blinking, and its face was saying, "Praise me." Chu Luiyue could not help but laugh. This little thing ran faster than anyone else when it was in trouble, and when it was safe, it came back to curry favor. What a good scheme. However, this quick-wittedness was not annoying. Chu Luiyue accepted the gift. After thinking about it, he decided to give it to Mu Hongyu later. Thinking of this, she walked over to Mu Hongyu and helped her up. "Hongyu, how are you?" Mu Hongyu thought that she was going to die today. She did not expect to be saved by Chu Luiyue at the last moment. She could not help but feel grateful and thankful. She endured the pain and wiped the blood off her face. "I'm fine. It's just a flesh wound. I'll be fine after some rest. If it wasn't for you, and Sen who risked your lives to stop it. That's why we won." Chu Luiyue shook her head gently. Her gaze lingered on Mu Hongyu's shoulder for a moment. It looked like she had broken a bone. "Sit down and rest first. I'll help you set the bone later." Mu Hongyu realized that Gu Mingfeng had seen through her and laughed bitterly. "Your eyes are too sharp." Chu Luiyue did not mention that she had already checked her pulse when she helped her up. Actually, this was not the most important thing. The most serious injury on Mu Hongyu's body was actually her internal injury. After Chu Luiyue settled her down, she went to check on Senhu's condition. Senhu was in a worse state than Mu Hongyu. He was already injured, and he had risked his life to fight. It was simply one disaster after another. His left forearm was fractured, and 2 of his ribs were broken. His condition was not optimistic. Fortunately, Senhu was rough to begin with. Although he was in pain, he could endure it. Chu Luiyue set his bone first. He was in so much pain that his forehead was covered in sweat, but he did not make a sound. When Chu Luiyue finished bandaging him, he even grinned from ear to ear. "Luiyue, you're really good. Even a 4th-grade fiend is no match for you. Your Xian formation is definitely not a 2nd-grade one, right? You previously said that you were a 2nd-grade mystic cultivator. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I would have been fooled by you." Chu Luiyue smiled. "I'm indeed a 2nd-grade mystic cultivator. Without Gu Mingfeng's help, I wouldn't have been able to use it." Senhu felt that something was amiss, but he could not put his finger on it. He could only say, "In any case, you're very impressive. I think you're much more impressive than those haughty mystic cultivators in the academy." In the past, the entire imperial city called her a good-for-nothing. Little did they know that she was the true top-notch genius. Upon hearing this, Chu Luiyue paused and looked behind him. He had actually forgotten that there was someone else here. Gu Mingzhu. Sensing Chu Luiyue looking at her, Gu Mingzhu shuddered and felt a trace of fear in her heart. The scene just now was truly too frightening. Her stomach churned for a long time before she finally calmed down. However, the raging waves in her heart could not be calmed down for a long time. Chu Luiyue could actually use a 4th-grade mystic formation. Didn't they say that she had just started cultivating not long ago? Didn't they say that she was only a 2nd-grade mystic cultivator? Then how could she explain everything just now? What do you want to do? Gu Mingzhu asked in a trembling voice. Nothing. I just want to settle the score with you now that the matter has been resolved. As Chu Luiyue spoke, he looked at Gu Mingfeng with a grin. Gu Mingfeng, do you mind helping me keep an eye on her? Gu Mingzhu raised her brows and shrieked. How dare you? Gu Mingfeng nodded without a word and walked toward Gu Mingzhu. He took out a rope and tied her up tightly. Although Gu Mingzhu was a 3rd-grade mystic cultivator, the continuous escape had already exhausted her strength. Right now, she was no match for a martial artist like Gu Mingfeng. She was so angry that her face flushed red, and she kept cursing. Gu Mingfeng, you're crazy. Who are you to dare lay a hand on me? Do you believe that I'll go back and tell the patriarch to punish you? Gu Mingfeng was expressionless as he pretended not to hear anything and tied her hands behind her back as well. Ungrateful be asterisk starred. You, slap. A resounding slap interrupted Gu Mingzhu's insults. Her face was tilted to the side, and her left cheek quickly swelled up. Gu Mingfeng stared at her with a cold gaze. I never said that I don't hit women. Also, if you want to go back and complain, you'll have to see if you have the life to do so. Gu Mingzhu looked at him and realized that the young man from a lowly background who was always taciturn and allowed her to bully him had unknowingly grown up and become extremely dangerous. Chu Luiyue walked to Mu Hongyu's side, pressed down on her shoulders, and carefully helped her set her bones. She didn't even raise her head as she lightly said he didn't even raise his head and said, it won't be too late to let her die after she collects all the debts she owes us. Chapter 137. Chu Luiyue's words made Gu Mingzhu feel uneasy. She put on a fierce front. Chu Luiyue, what are you trying to do? Let me tell you, I'm the 2nd daughter of the Gu family. If you really do anything to me, the Gu family won't let you off. Chu Luiyue couldn't be bothered with her. Make her shut up. Gu Mingfeng looked around and tore off a section of Gu Mingzhu's sleeve. He rolled it into a ball and stuffed it into her mouth. Half of Gu Mingzhu's arm was exposed. She instantly felt humiliated and angry. She whimpered a few times but couldn't say anything. Gu Mingfeng suddenly glanced at her. Gu Mingzhu immediately remembered the slap he gave her and instinctively stopped. She didn't dare to make a fuss anymore. This Gu Mingfeng looked especially gloomy and fierce today. She even felt that if she angered him, he would really kill her. Gu Mingzhu still cherished her life. After the fear grew in her heart, she obediently shut her mouth. Chu Luiyue ground the golden mane bear's pill of essence into powder and mixed it with 2 herbs that he carried with him. He then gave it to Mu Hongyu. When Xinhu saw this, he couldn't help but ask, Luyu, why is Hongyu and I treated differently? I swallowed the pill of essence directly, but you were so meticulous with Hongyu. You can't treat me like this just because I'm an uncouth man. Mu Hongyu felt that she had recovered a lot and was in a good mood. She couldn't help but raise her chin proudly. Xinhu, do you still know that you're a man? Why are you so jealous? Of course, Luyu treats me the best. All of you have to be behind him. You're not as likable as me. Her words made everyone laugh. Chu Luiyue said, the livid horse is a 3rd-grade fiend. It's fine to consume the pill of essence directly. However, the golden mane bear is different. Hongyu happened to be injured and her body is weak. If she uses the entire pill of essence, the disadvantages will outweigh the advantages. She placed the remaining powder of the pill of essence in Mu Hongyu's hand and instructed her seriously. Divide the remaining powder into 2 doses. Use it once every 8 hours. Your injuries will be healed greatly. Really? That's great. Mu Hongyu happily put away the things. Thinking of what had happened today, she felt very emotional. I really didn't expect that I could use the powder ground from the golden mane bear's core of origin to heal my injuries. Furthermore, I was the one who helped you hunt it. Lu Yu had said that the 4 of them had contributed greatly as well. This victory belonged to the 4 of them. Even though he was injured, he would still be proud of such a battle result. In the past, news of Rong Jin hunting a 4th-grade fiend had spread for a long time. Compared to the one he hunted, their fiend was only stronger. Even in the entire academy, they could definitely be considered as the most outstanding batch. Sigh. It's a pity that the golden mane bear died. Otherwise, it would have been great to hunt it. Sen Hu smacked his lips. That's a rank 4 magical beast. Chu Liuyue's lips curved up. That golden mane bear is a female bear that has been offended. There's no way it can be tamed. Keeping it by our side will only cause trouble. Sen Hu chuckled. I'm just saying. In that situation, either it died or we died. Of course, we had to end it. Mu Hongyu leaned against the tree trunk with her uninjured shoulder and could not help but agree. 4th-grade fiends aren't easy to find. Now that we're all injured, it'll be difficult for us to deal with fiends of this level in the future. It was not easy for them to meet one, but they did not expect it to be in danger because of Gu Mingzhu. Chu Luiyue and Gu Mingfeng were better off, but her and Sen Hu's injuries were indeed quite serious. They probably would not be able to gain much from Wanling Mountain this time. Sigh, I originally wanted to hunt a rank 4 magical beast, but it seems like there's no hope now. Chu Liuyue suddenly knocked on her forehead lightly. Who said that there's no hope? Mu Hongyu widened her almond-shaped eyes. Don't tell me, you want to help me hunt? Chu Liuyue smiled meaningfully. Why go through so much trouble? Isn't there a ready-made one? It's just inside. Gu Mingzhu stood at the entrance of a cave and said unwillingly. You walk in front. Chu Liuyue said. Gu Mingzhu suppressed the anger in her heart and turned to walk inside. Chu Liuyue and the others followed closely behind. Gu Mingzhu was tightly tied up, so they were not worried that she would do anything or suddenly escape. The cave did not look big, but it was very spacious inside. They walked for a while before reaching the innermost part. Chu Liuyue saw a den at first glance. That's where the golden mane bear cub is. Gu Mingzhu said unwillingly. She was almost annoyed to death. She thought that she could pick up a treasure, but who knew that she would be killed? In the end, she even provoked Chu Liuyue, who was difficult to deal with. She was tied up yesterday and could not sit or lie down. She stood like that for the entire night and looked much more haggard. However, Chu Liuyue did not let her go just like that. Instead, he asked her to tell him where she found the golden mane bear cub. She had no choice but to bring them here. As if it heard the movement, there was a sound in the den, as if something was moving. Then a round head poked out. It's really a golden mane bear cub. Mu Hongyu exclaimed softly. The golden mane bear cub was only the length of an adult's forearm. Its fur was still light gray, and there was a circle of slightly darker fur around its neck. It was obvious that it was born not long ago. When it grew up, its fur would naturally turn golden brown. It blinked and looked curiously at Chu Liuyue and the others. It scratched its round ears, as if it did not understand what was going on. In the end, its gaze landed on Mu Hongyu, and it opened its arms wide. Mu Hongyu's eyes widened. WW, what does it mean? WW, want me to hug it? Chu Liuyue thought for a moment. It's probably because you took the pill of essence. It felt a familiar aura from you, so it's especially close to you. Really? Mu Hongyu was skeptical. While they were talking, the golden mane bear cub saw that it did not get a response for a long time. It crawled out on its own and staggered to Mu Hongyu. It pounced on her leg and hugged it tightly. Mu Hongyu's heart melted instantly. She quickly hugged the cub. The golden mane bear cub was satisfied. It leaned on her shoulder and rubbed against it affectionately. Chu Liuyue joked with a smile. It's still too young. It can't survive here alone. Why don't you take care of it in the future? Mu Hongyu was surprised and happy. Really? No one here is more suitable than you. Mu Hongyu naturally would not refuse. This was the cub of a 4th grade magical beast. It was the easiest to tame and was the best choice for hunting. Moreover, this golden mane bear cub was very close to her. She really liked it. Then I won't hold back. Mu Hongyu carefully hugged the golden mane bear cub and pinched its ears. Chu Liwei suddenly felt a little itchy on her cheek. She looked down and saw that the cub had poked its head over, as if it was waiting for something. Seeing that Chu Liwei did not move, its 2 pointed ears twitched. Chu Liwei raised her eyebrows. This is asking for a pet. Mobile users, please browse for a better reading experience from Love Network. Chapter 138. Chu Liwei stretched out her hand and tapped its head. Don't always compare yourself to others. The little thing shuddered and looked up with a pained expression, as if it didn't expect Chu Liwei to say something so heartless. It only wanted to be touched. Wasn't this request too outrageous? It grabbed Chu Liwei's finger and pressed it to its ear. Touch me. Chu Liwei, it was so small, but it had such a big temper, she had no choice but to pinch the soft, fluffy ears. It felt good. Only then was the little thing satisfied. It angrily turned around, swept its tail, and buried its face in it. Chu Liwei couldn't help but laugh. Can you let me go now? Gu Mingzhu suddenly said in a cold tone. She was obviously full of resentment for what she had experienced in the past day and night. Chu Liwei blinked. What are you dreaming about? You caused us to walk between life and death. Do you think we'll let it go just like that? But you already got the golden mane bear cub. We deserve it. We defeated the golden mane bear. As long as we use its pill of essence as a clue, we'll find this place sooner or later. We only let you lead the way to save some time. You don't think this is a great contribution, do you? Chu Liwei spoke softly and slowly. These 2 simple sentences made Gu Mingzhu speechless. At this moment, she finally realized that Chu Liwei really didn't plan on letting her go so easily. Then what do you want? Chu Liwei, don't go overboard. I still have a signal tube on me. If you dare to do anything to me, I'll definitely seek justice from the teachers and elders. Chu Liwei looked at the agitated Gu Mingzhu and smiled indifferently and mockingly. That's good. We can also take the opportunity to ask. You caused 2 of our fellow disciples to die tragically, 2 of them to go missing, and you even dragged us into danger. How should we punish you for doing these things? Gu Mingzhu bit her lip hard. Rumble. A muffled voice that sounded like a sudden clap of thunder was heard. Chu Liwei frowned and quickly walked out of the cave. When she stood halfway up the mountain and looked down, she was completely stunned. What's wrong? What happened? This commotion is... Sen Hu was the first to catch up. When he reached Chu Liu's side, he noticed that something was wrong with her expression and couldn't help but follow her gaze. The moment he saw it, his eyes widened. At the foot of the mountain, in the forest, a group of magical beasts were rushing towards their mountain. 2nd grade silver-feathered wind-chasing deer. Sen Hu took a closer look and saw the silver feathers on their heads. He instantly recognized them. This kind of magical beast was actually very common. It had a gentle temperament and was extremely fast. Aristocratic families usually hunted them as mounts. However, they had always been alone. Why were there so many of them gathered all of a sudden? At a rough glance, there were at least 30 to 40 of them. However, this was not all. Behind them was a group of black bats. They flew over with a whoosh. Sen Hu's face twitched. 3rd grade purple thunder bats? Aren't these poisonous creatures only active at night? Why are they out in broad daylight now? Moreover, there are more of them than the silver-feathered wind-chasing deer. Chu Liwei slowly clenched her fists in her sleeves. She quickly scanned the surroundings, her gaze heavy. At this moment, Mu Hongyu and the rest had also caught up. When they saw the situation at the foot of the mountain, they were also shocked. Wait, there's one in the northwest too. That's a fire cloud leopard? There's one in the south too. It's a golden-eyed beast. The few of them looked at each other. Mu Hongyu couldn't help but ask. Could it be, this is the magical beast tide? Otherwise, there was no way to explain the sudden appearance of so many magical beasts. Moreover, they were moving in unison. But shouldn't they be moving towards the center of Wang Lin Mountain? We're still in the periphery. Why are they moving towards us? Sen Hu was puzzled. Chu Luiyue slowly clenched her fists in her sleeves. We're surrounded. At the same time, the others in Wanling Mountain also sensed that something was amiss. Somewhere, Si Ting and the rest were surrounded by third-grade red flaming tigers. The battle was in a stalemate and both sides were injured. Si Yang wiped the blood off his face and gritted his teeth. Big brother, these red flaming tigers seem to be at odds with us. What should we do? They were unlucky to have met a lone red flaming tiger, so they helped a teammate hunt it. Who knew that the red flaming tigers would follow their auras and fight with them? After such a tough battle, they were almost exhausted. However, these red flaming tigers seemed to want to fight to the death with them. They had never heard of the magical beasts in Wanling Mountain being so difficult to deal with. Si Ting frowned. Zhou Yun and the other two are severely injured. We have to send them back immediately. Si Yang smiled bitterly. I've already pulled the signal tube, but teacher hasn't arrived yet. Big brother, the situation this time doesn't seem right. Si Ting pursed his thin lips. In fact, they all had this premonition. These magical beasts seemed to have been provoked by something, and their attacks were extremely strong. They had also met other teams earlier, and the situation was tragic. Many of them had already left with serious injuries. Teacher hadn't arrived yet, and he was probably delayed on the way. A red flaming tiger suddenly roared. Si Yang and the rest stared at them even more nervously, afraid that they would charge forward together. However, what surprised them was that the red flaming tiger suddenly turned around and ran into the forest. The other red flaming tigers followed closely behind. In the blink of an eye, they all disappeared. What's going on? Si Yang was stunned. Could it be that the magical beast tide has appeared? According to teacher, the magical beasts in Wanling Mountain would all rush toward one place at a time. Si Ting's heart was in his mouth. No, they're not going to the center of the mountain. More and more magical beasts gathered at the foot of the mountain. The few people standing on the mountain fell into a strange silence. They had already sensed that extreme danger was approaching. How can this be? Why are they coming for us? The golden mane bear cub in Mu Hongyu's arms suddenly became restless and struggled uneasily. She hugged and coaxed it for a while before finally calming it down. Chu Luiyue didn't say anything. These magical beasts weren't coming for them. They were coming for her. Digression, I planted a little devil and reaped a bunch of big devils. Mobile users, please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from Love Network. Chapter 139. Chu Luiyue could not understand why. She had never been to Wanling Mountain and had never hunted any fiends to provoke them. However, no matter if it was the livid horse at the beginning or the red wolf pack later on, she could clearly feel that these magical beasts were indeed coming for her. Lu Yu, what should we do now? Even someone as bold as Mu Hongyu felt uneasy when she saw this. Chu Luiyue pondered for a moment. Teacher Dongfang once said that the fiends in Wanling Mountain rarely leave the forest. If we go out, we might be able to shake them off. Mu Hongyu nodded in realization. Yes. Let's leave this place quickly. They could deal with one or two fiends or even a group of them. However, the number of fiends heading here was uncountable. If they were to face them head-on, they would definitely die. Even if the elders and teachers came, they might not be their match. Gu Mingfeng suddenly spoke up, his expression tense. It might be a little difficult to leave now. They looked down the mountain again and saw that the golden-eyed demon beasts had stopped at the foot of the mountain. They were lined up neatly like an army and looked up. Countless pairs of cold and cruel eyes were like sharp blades that scraped across their bodies. That was pure murderous intent. They have blocked the way over there. Sen Hu said softly. Gu Mingfeng shook his head. No, all of our paths have been sealed. Almost at the same time that the golden-eyed demon beast rushed over, other magical beasts also arrived from other directions, blocking their way down the mountain. At a glance, it was a vast expanse of darkness. The air was filled with a strong murderous intent. Everyone fell into silence. Anyone could tell that they were in a desperate situation. With such a great disparity in strength, the outcome was obvious. Mu Hongyu's face was pale. Are we really going to die here today? She looked at Chu Luiwei almost instinctively and saw that she was also frowning. Mu Hongyu suddenly mocked herself in her heart. She was really confused. In this situation, even if Chu Luiwei had 3 heads and 6 arms, he would still be helpless. None of them spoke. The atmosphere seemed to have been frozen, cold, and heavy. Go back. Chu Luiwei suddenly said. Everyone was taken aback. Back to where? We're surrounded now, there's no way we can break through and leave. Back to the cave. Chu Luiwei said as he turned around and walked towards the cave. The first to react was actually Gu Mingzhu. She took a step back and screamed, I'm not going back. Chu Luiwei frowned and turned to look at her. Gu Mingzhu was probably shocked by the scene at the foot of the mountain. She was already a little hysterical. Chu Luiwei, don't drag me down if you want to die. The entire mountain had been surrounded. Going back to the cave was a dead end. I won't go back with you. Chu Luiwei looked at her as if she was crazy. At this moment, she was not in the mood to care about her. Moreover, she did not intend to bring Gu Mingzhu along as a burden. Up to you. With that said, he looked at Mu Hongyu and the others and raised his chin. Hurry up. Time waits for no one. Hearing Chu Luiwei's words, Mu Hongyu and the others immediately followed. Even though he didn't know what Chu Luiwei was up to, her expression and tone always had the power to make people feel at ease. Moreover, after going through so many things, they had long regarded Chu Luiwei as their backbone. At this moment, whatever she said to do, they would naturally do as she said. Their figures quickly disappeared from the cave. Only Gu Mingzhu was left halfway up the mountain. She only came back to her senses when they were completely out of sight. She was in disbelief. Chu Luiwei and the others actually let her go so easily? The roar of the fiends in the forest woke Gu Mingzhu up abruptly. She glanced down and sensed a strong murderous intent. Her legs turned to jelly and she almost knelt on the ground. Oh no. She couldn't die here. She had to leave this place alive. Fortunately, she still had a trump card. They walked into the cave again. Sen Hu followed behind Chu Luiwei and could not help but look back. He was somewhat indignant. Lu Yu, we haven't settled the score with her yet. Are you going to let her go just like that? That's letting her off too easily. Chu Luiwei said indifferently. Since she wants to die, why should we stop her? Sen Hu's eyes lit up. You mean, there are so many people outside. It's almost impossible for her to escape. She'll just be courting death. She could clearly see through Gu Mingzhu's thoughts. Instead of wasting energy to deal with her, it was better to let her jump into a fire pit. Forget it, let's not care about her. Lu Yu, let's think about what we should do first, shall we? It's not a good idea to keep hiding in this cave. Mu Hongyu hugged the golden mane bear cub, still looking worried. Who says we're going to sit here and wait for death? Chu Luiwei asked softly. The 3 of them looked at each other. Golden mane bears are very powerful, but they hibernate every winter. Usually, to avoid being disturbed by other magical beasts, they won't hibernate in their usual dens. Instead, they'll choose a more secretive place. That place is usually connected to their dens, so it's convenient for them to move around. Chu Luiwei explained patiently as they walked in. However, these words immediately made Mu Hongyu and the other 2 react. You're saying that we can go from here to where the golden mane bear hibernates and escape without a trace? As they spoke, they had already reached the den where the golden mane bear cub was. Sen Hu rushed over excitedly, but after looking around, he did not find anything out of the ordinary. He could not help but feel disappointed. There's nothing here. Lu Yu, don't tell me there's no way to get to where the golden mane bear hibernates? After all, This entire mountain belongs to it. Wouldn't it be the same if it went outside? If it's so easy to find, this golden mane bear wouldn't have survived until now. As Chu Liwei spoke, he motioned for Mu Hongyu to put the golden mane bear cub down. The golden mane bear cub suddenly left the warm embrace and was confused for a moment. It could not help but blink and wanted to crawl towards Mu Hongyu again. Chu Liwei made Mu Hongyu move away while he went forward and tapped its head lightly. Its round body immediately flipped over. The golden mane bear cub did not admit defeat and continued to move forward. Chu Liwei stopped it again. After a few times, it finally stopped and glared at Chu Liwei pitifully before turning to leave. It wobbled to a certain place and finally laid down against the mountain wall. Chu Liu's eyes lit up. He quickly walked forward and squatted down to take a closer look. Indeed, the color of the mountain wall was different from the other places. "It's here." She pressed one hand on the wall and pushed with force. Creak! A hole suddenly appeared on the mountain wall. Mobile users, please browse for a better reading experience from Love Network. Chapter 140. Did you find it? Seeing the sudden appearance of the cave, they were overjoyed. Chu Liwei looked inside. It was dark inside, and she could barely see anything. "Use this." A hand suddenly reached out, and in that hand was a grape-sized luminous pearl that emitted a bright light. Chu Liwei took the pearl and nodded at Gu Mingfeng. "Thank you." "It's my pleasure." With the help of the luminous pearl, Chu Liwei could finally see the situation inside the cave. The path in the cave leads downwards. There are stairs. Everyone be careful. With that, she took the lead and walked down. Mu Hongyu hugged the golden mane bear cub again and quickly followed. When she passed by Gu Mingfeng, she smiled. "Gu Mingfeng, you have quite a lot of things on you. This luminous pearl is worth a lot." Gu Mingfeng's status in the Gu family was very low. Usually, when he was in school, he was more frugal with his food and clothing. Thus, Mu Hongyu and Sin Hu were very shocked when he suddenly took out the luminous pearl. Gu Mingfeng lowered his eyes and didn't say anything. He followed. Mu Hongyu was stunned and looked at Sin Hu. Did she say something wrong? But she didn't say anything. Chu Liu's heart skipped a beat. Gu Mingfeng obviously didn't want to talk about this. But she didn't ask in detail and just continued walking. This was a long and narrow tunnel. As they walked, although they could only see the situation around them, they could still feel that this path was very winding. Chu Liu silently calculated in her heart. She guessed that they should have walked down some distance, but she didn't know if they had reached the foot of the mountain. And the direction was not clear. But she couldn't care about that now. It would be best if they could use this path to avoid the attacks of the magical beasts. Oh my God! This golden mane bear is too powerful. Just this path in the mountain must have taken a lot of effort, right? Sen Hu sighed as they walked. To ordinary people, this is naturally a huge project. But the golden mane bear's body is very strong. This is not difficult for it. Sen Hu was speechless. The golden mane bear is so strong, but it was still defeated by you. If you ask me, Lu Yu, you're the scariest one. Chu Liu couldn't help but laugh. She had said a few times that they were able to defeat the golden mane bear because of their combined strength, but Sin Hu seemed to think that she was hiding something and admired her a lot. With such a straightforward personality, it was hard for him to change his mind once he decided on something. Thus, Chu Liu decided not to explain further and just let him be. They didn't see the end of it. Sin Hu was a little. When is this going to end? Before she could finish speaking, the golden mane bear cub in Mu Hongyu's arms suddenly moved. When Chu Liu saw this, she finally heaved a sigh of relief. Almost there. They continued walking. Sure enough, it didn't take long for their vision to open up. A huge cave appeared in front of them. Sen Hu quickened his pace and was the first to walk over. He quickly looked around and the excitement on his face froze. That's not right. Lu Yu, why isn't there an exit here? Chu Liu rubbed her forehead helplessly. This is where the golden mane bear hibernates. It's meant to prevent it from being disturbed. Why would there be an exit here? Then how do we get out? Chu Luiwei walked over step by step and scanned the surroundings. Naturally, we'll make an exit ourselves. Her tone was calm and natural, as if she was saying that the weather was good today. It was as if she didn't find her words shocking at all. Even Gu Mingfeng couldn't help but frown. Make an exit? From here? Chu Luiwei nodded. If we work together, it shouldn't take too long. Lu Yu, are you serious? Mu Hongyu stared at her in a daze. We don't even know where we are. What if this place is at the bottom of the mountain? Won't we have to dig for months? It won't take that long. I've already looked around. The walls here are made of the same stone as the cave. We're still in the mountain. That's the center of the mountain, so we're definitely closer to the outside now. As long as we make an exit, everything won't be a problem. Chu Luiwei looked at the others who were still in a daze. Otherwise, do you have a better idea? They fell silent. Gu Mingfeng took a deep breath. Tell us, where should we start? When Chu Luiwei and the others walked through the secret passage in the mountain, the situation outside became more and more tense. Unknowingly, the outside of the mountain was surrounded by many magical beasts. Fierce murderous intent filled the air, and it was frightening. However, they didn't go up the mountain to attack. Instead, they lined up neatly and looked like they were ready for battle. It looked like they were waiting for something. If someone saw this scene, they would definitely feel that something was wrong. But Gu Mingzhu didn't think so. She found a remote corner in the middle of the mountain and hid behind a big rock. After waiting for a while, she realized that the magical beasts didn't attack immediately. She couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. Fortunately, there was always a way out. Although she didn't know why these magical beasts suddenly stopped, she felt very lucky. Because what she needed the most now was time. She touched her waist with one hand, looking anxious and excited. As long as no one disturbed her, she could escape safely. Suddenly, the smile on her face froze, and she looked at her belt in disbelief. That's not right. That thing was clearly here. Why is it gone now? Somewhere in Wanling Mountain. Wen Yen was rushing when he suddenly heard footsteps. His heart suddenly jumped. Looking over, he finally saw that the person who had come was Bai Chen. Behind him was Si Ting and the others. They were in a hurry and seemed to be rushing to do something. When Yen went forward, Bai Chen, where are you going? Are Si Ting and the rest injured too? Bai Chen saw that it was Wen Yen and quickly took a few steps forward with a serious expression. Wen Yen, do you feel that something is wrong? Wen Yen was stunned. You mean, the magical beasts in Wanling Mountain are more aggressive than before? Bai Chen nodded and then shook his head. Not entirely. There were signs of this yesterday. A few elders and teachers already knew about it and sent many seriously injured students out. But now, there is something more serious. What is it? Wen Yen asked curiously. Bai Chen took a deep breath and briefly told him about what Si Ting and the others had encountered earlier. In fact, it's not just them. Many people encountered the same situation. If I'm not wrong, the magical beasts in Wanling Mountain seem to have received some kind of command at that moment. Or rather, an order. That's why they were so consistent. The most important thing is that in the past, all the magical beasts went into the mountain range. But this time, Wen Yan's heart jumped. I'm afraid the one who can control these magical beasts is... Boom! An earth-shattering explosion suddenly sounded. The few of them looked up and saw a mountain peak in the distance suddenly collapse. A huge magical beast spread its wings and soared into the sky. Boundless pressure covered the sky and covered the earth. That's a high-level magical beast. Mobile users, please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from the Love Network. Chapter 141. It was a large, blood-red python. The scales on its body shone with a cold, iron-blooded glow under the sunlight. The black bone wings on its back almost covered the entire sky. His powerful and terrifying aura made it hard for people to breathe. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. Bai Chen widened his eyes, almost thinking that he had seen wrongly. That's a 7th grade black flying python? Si Ting and the rest were shocked. A 7th-grade advanced fiend. That powerful existence that only existed in legends. Quick! Retreat! When Yan's lips turned pale, he immediately reacted and shouted, "Inform everyone in the academy to retreat from Wang Lin Mountain." The moment the black flying python appeared, all the fiends in Wang Lin Mountain roared in unison. The sound was earth-shattering. That was their way of expressing their submission. The black flying python flapped its wings, and its body flashed. It quickly headed toward the mountain where Chu Luiyue and the rest were. All the fiends welcomed it respectfully. The fiends had a strict hierarchy. As a 7th-grade black flying python, it naturally had the highest status here. In fact, this was indeed its territory. It was very fast. In just a few breaths, it was already in front of the mountain. Its cold and green eyes were filled with indifferent murderous intent. Then, it let out a strange sound from its throat. The fiends gathered at the foot of the mountain responded in unison. Then they rushed toward the mountain. Why did it disappear? The family head had specially given it to her in the past because he was worried that she would encounter danger. She could not bear to use it when she was chased by the golden mane bear, but she knew that she had to use it now. But why couldn't she find it? Gu Mingzhu searched her body again, but she still could not find it. She gradually panicked. If she did not have that thing, how could she leave this place safely? She could not help but look up at the fiend in midair. Although she could not recognize what it was, she was sure that it was an extremely dangerous high-level fiend. And now, it seemed to be planning to attack. What should she do? Gu Mingzhu was so anxious that her heart was beating wildly. Her face was pale and her limbs were cold. Rumble! Just as she was feeling worried, a loud sound was heard. She looked over in shock, only to see that the magical beasts at the foot of the mountain were suddenly charging towards the mountain peak. With so many magical beasts charging at her at the same time, it almost caused the rocks under her feet to tremble. She became more and more afraid and ran in a certain direction in a panic. Chu Luiyue and the others were just about to start looking for the exit when they felt a powerful fluctuation. A few pieces of gravel fell from the mountain wall. Mu Hongyu was shocked. What's wrong? What happened outside? It seems like someone is attacking. No. It should be those magical beasts. Sin Hu suddenly came back to his senses. Who else could it be other than them? Why are they attacking the mountain? Are they trying to force us out? Mu Hongyu frowned. Why are they targeting us? Chu Luiyue lowered his eyes slightly. Gu Mingfeng narrowed his eyes when he saw her expression. Do you want to continue? They all looked at Chu Luiyue. Under such circumstances, there didn't seem to be much point in continuing to stay here and break out of another exit. Perhaps they didn't have the time at all. With those magical beasts chasing them so crazily, they would only die if they stayed here. Chu Luiyue pondered for a moment and finally said, "Continue. I'll go back." What? Mu Hongyu was shocked and pulled her back. Are you crazy? Won't you be courting death if you go back now? The entire mountain has been surrounded. Even if we don't go out, we won't be able to escape. If I go back, I can still buy some time. Take advantage of this opportunity to continue forward and break out of another exit. It should be safer to go out from there. As Chu Luiyue spoke, she suddenly took something out of her sleeve. It was a palm-sized black crystal disc with some engravings on it. It looked very mysterious and had a faint suppressive aura. Shock flashed across Gu Mingfeng's eyes when he saw this. He immediately looked at Chu Luiyue. This is Black Xian Formation Crystal? Mu Hongyu recognized what it was and exclaimed, "Why do you have this?" The so-called Black Xian Formation Crystal was a Xian formation engraved on a black crystal to seal the power of the Xian formation inside. This item was extremely precious because even a low-level Xian master could activate the Xian formation on it with just a little bit of power. From there, they could use a Xian formation of a higher level, and the attack power would naturally be stronger. However, this Black Xian Formation crystal was extremely difficult to engrave. It was rare even for aristocratic families. Chu Luiyue shook her head. This isn't mine. It's Gu Mingzhu's. Gu. Mu Hongyu was at a loss for words, but she immediately reacted. You secretly took it? Chu Luiyue raised her eyebrows nonchalantly. That's not important. She owes us so much. Just take it as some interest for now. Sin Hu gave him a thumbs up in admiration. I was wondering why you let her off so easily. She was still complaining that you let her off too easily. So you simply took drastic measures to deal with her. No wonder Gu Mingzhu didn't want to come with us. There are so many fiends at the foot of the mountain, but she dared to stay outside and planned to escape alone. So it's because she has this treasure as her trump card. There is a level 5 Xian formation engraved on it. It's extremely powerful and can help you a lot. After Chu Luiyue finished speaking, she handed the black Xian formation crystal to Gu Mingfeng. I've already activated more than half of the Xian formation on it. You just need to inject a bit more power into it, and it will be completely activated. I'll leave Hongyu and Sin Hu to you. Gu Mingfeng was stunned. He didn't expect Chu Luiyue to say such a thing. Leave the two of them to me. Does she trust me? Chu Luiyue seemed to have seen through Gu Mingfeng's doubts. Her lips curled up slightly and her gaze was fixed. I'll see you outside the mountain. Gu Mingfeng didn't know what to feel. He had never been so valued and trusted by anyone before. Even though he had outstanding talent, he was still looked down upon and humiliated because of his lowly background. Everyone in the Gu family said that he was cold-blooded and was just an ingrate. They had the same blood flowing in their veins, but they also gave him the deepest pain. But Chu Luiyue, they had only known each other for a few days, but she was actually willing to trust him so much. He looked into her eyes. There was no contempt, sarcasm, or mockery in those clear and bright eyes. There was only calmness and calmness. She was serious. Gu Mingfeng felt something surging in his heart. In the end, he reached out and took the black Xian formation crystal. Okay. Chu Luiyue's eyes curved into crescents as she smiled. Since Gu Mingfeng said so, it meant that he was willing to give it his all. Mu Hongyu and Sin Hu were injured. After she left, they could only rely on him. She returned the luminous pearl to Gu Mingfeng and didn't say anything else. She turned and left. Her figure quickly disappeared into the darkness. Lu Yu, Mu Hongyu took a step forward, wanting to stop her. Gu Mingfeng walked in front of her. Since she said that she'll see you outside the mountain, she definitely won't go back on her words. Instead of worrying, why don't we act quickly and meet up with her? We don't have much time. The longer we delay, the more danger she will be in. Mu Hongyu bit her red lips. She was struggling in her heart. Finally, she nodded vigorously. Let's go. Mobile users, please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from Love Network. Chapter 142. Chu Luiyue walked alone in the tunnel. The closer she got to the outside, the clearer she could feel the power of the attack. She could imagine what was going on outside. Rocks continued to fall from the mountain walls, smashing into her side. However, Chu Luiyue did not stop. She walked out firmly. This trip was dangerous, but she had to go. Moreover, she also wanted to know why the demonic beasts in Wanling mountain range were so against her. She felt an itch on her neck. She looked down at the blood ferret on her shoulder. It's dangerous outside. You'd better not follow me. The little thing shook its head. It wanted to follow her. Chu Luiyue chuckled and tapped its head. Aren't you very timid? You ran faster than anyone else when we were in danger. Why do you want to follow me now? I'm not kidding. You should know what's going on outside. There's really no need to follow me. The little thing seemed to be hurt by her words. It puffed up its cheeks angrily and glared at her. Then, it turned around and faced her with its butt. I said I'm not going, so I'm not going. It wasn't that kind of cowardly creature. Could it be that in her eyes, it was like this? I want to follow her. Chu Luiyue did not know whether to laugh or cry. She felt warm inside. It's not impossible if you want to follow me out. However, if you encounter danger, just run for your life. Do you hear me? The little thing swung its tail and covered its ears. Chu Luiyue took a deep breath and continued walking out. At the same time, on the other side of Wanling Mountain, Elder's son and the rest were caught off guard by the sudden appearance of the black flying python in the sky. What's going on? Why would the black flying python appear there at this time? Elder's son was shocked. The other teachers who came with him looked at each other. Elder's son, you know there's a black flying python here? Elder's son nodded with a serious expression. The entire Wang Lin mountain is its territory. In fact, the so-called magical beast tide was also caused by it. The black-winged python's cultivation required it to devour a large amount of energy, and this included low-level magical beasts. Due to the pressure of a magic beast level, those low-level magic beasts had no choice but to gather together and let it do as it pleased. 3 years ago, Marshall Uncle and I saw it here by chance. At that time, it was only at the peak of level 6. I didn't expect it to break through to level 7 in just 3 years. Everyone was shocked. Elder's son frowned. The mountain in the middle of Wang Lin mountain range is the nest of the black flying python. It never left before. But now, for some unknown reason, he appeared at the border. Qin Yi, how many students are there in this mountain range? A teacher next to him calculated in his heart and immediately said, 2 days ago, many demonic beasts appeared in the forest, and they were extremely aggressive. Many students were injured and had to retreat. Less than a third of them are still inside. Elder's son stared at the terrifyingly huge body and muttered, no wonder it's so strange this time. It's all because of this guy. Even though there was a distance between them, he could still clearly feel the surging killing intent from the black heaven-devouring python. What did it want to do? He suppressed the uneasiness in his heart and ordered, split up and bring the rest of the students back. Remember, be careful. Don't provoke that black flying python. Yes. Chu Luiwei quickly returned to the cave. From here, she could clearly hear the powerful aura approaching from outside. She took a deep breath and walked out. When her figure appeared at the entrance of the cave, a cold glint flashed across the eyes of the black flying python in midair. Then it stretched out its neck and hissed. All the demonic beasts that were rushing forward heard the order and stopped. However, they had almost occupied half of the mountain. The golden-eyed demonic beast at the front had already jumped to the top of the mountain and was confronting Chu Luiwei. No, it should be said that Chu Luiwei was completely surrounded. Chu Luiwei followed the voice and looked at the sky. When she saw the huge body clearly, she was shocked. A level 7 black flying python? No wonder these demonic beasts were so obedient. It turned out that there was such an existence. A human and a beast looked at each other. Chu Luiwei could clearly see that the pair of vertical pupils were filled with biting, cold, murderous intent. It was indeed coming for her. It wanted to take her life. Chu Luiwei's heart sank. The sun was shining brightly at this moment, but her body was cold. A level 7 demonic beast. If it was her previous life, she would naturally not care. But now, how could she be a match for it? Not to mention that there were so many demonic beasts waiting for her. Chu Luiwei did not doubt that as long as the black flying python gave the order, these demonic beasts would immediately rush forward and tear her into pieces. In this atmosphere where the air seemed to be frozen, the black flying python moved and headed towards Chu Luiwei. When it approached, the golden-eyed demonic beasts all bowed down. The demonic beasts on the mountain also became more and more respectful. The black flying python looked down at Chu Luiwei from above. Just a glance. A formless pressure descended upon them. That was the terrifying power that only high-level demonic beasts had. Chu Luiwei only felt as if something had ruthlessly crushed her body and her entire body was in intense pain. Her face instantly turned pale and sweat broke out on her forehead. The little thing that was originally nestled on her shoulder was also affected and gave out a painful moan. It was a demonic beast and was suppressed by the black flying python's bloodline pressure, so naturally it would not be any better. Chu Luiwei took a look at it and saw that it was trembling all over. Obviously it was extremely afraid and in extreme pain. However, its 2 claws were tightly grabbing onto her clothes and refused to let go. She forced herself to hold on as she turned back to look at the black flying python and asked word by word, "It's not impossible for you to take my life. But at the very least, You have to first tell me the reason and let me die with a clear understanding, right? The black flying python looked at her indifferently and did not open its mouth but increased its strength. The ground under Chu Liyue's feet instantly cracked open. Intense pain engulfed her entire body, almost causing Chu Liyue's vision to turn black. She clenched her teeth and stood still as a light suddenly flashed through her mind. How easy would it be to kill her? But this black flying python did not directly attack. Compared to wanting her life, it seemed it wanted her to submit more. Digression. Mobile users, please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from the Love Network. Chapter 143. She did not know this black flying python, and today was her first time seeing it. Why was it acting like this? Chu Liyue could not figure it out. However, this black flying python did not seem to want to explain. It only stared at her and kept increasing the pressure on Chu Liyue. Chu Liyue groaned, and blood flowed out from the corner of her mouth. However, she still stood straight. She reached out and slowly wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth. She looked at the black flying python again with a heavy gaze. After a moment of silence, she suddenly smiled. If I kneel just because you want me to, wouldn't I be too embarrassed? Hearing her words, a trace of anger flashed across the black flying python's eyes. Boom! It swept its tail, and a strong wind attacked. Chu Liyue's body flew backward and landed heavily on the mountain rock. Bang! A dull sound was heard, and blood immediately flowed out from her back. Chu Liyue coughed and spat out the blood clots. Her originally pale lips were dyed red with blood, and she looked especially miserable. Her shoulder blade was probably broken. She used her arms to support herself and stood up with difficulty. However, before she could stand firm, another terrifying force attacked her again. Bang! Chu Liyue was thrown out again. This time, it was even heavier than before. Lil Thing clutched her clothes tightly and was brought down together with her. It looked at Chu Liyue nervously, and its eyes were filled with tears. Chu Liyue took a while to recover. She endured the intense pain, held onto the rock beside her, and stood up again. However, at this time, her breathing was weak, and her body was covered in blood. She looked very miserable. It was not that she did not want to fight back, but the other party did not give her a chance. A 7th grade fiend's abilities were unfathomable. At her current level, she did not have the right to fight with it. But why? The little thing used its claws to quickly wipe away its tears and turned to look at the culprit angrily. Its teeth creaked. In the end, it actually jumped up and went straight for the other party. It wanted to kill this fellow. Come back. Chu Liyue was shocked and wanted to stop him, but it was too late. The black heaven-devouring python's gaze shifted slightly. It looked at the blood ferret that was charging towards it as if it was looking at a dead object. He didn't know what death was. As the powerful pressure descended, the little thing's body suddenly stiffened, and then it fell heavily to the ground. It was lying on the ground, motionless. It was unknown whether it was dead or alive. Chu Liyue's pupils suddenly shrank. His cold gaze fell on her. She looked up. The black heaven-swallowing python looked down at her, as if it was looking at an ant struggling in vain. After Elder Sun gave the order, the teachers who came with him immediately took action. Soon, they found the remaining students in the forest and sent them out of the forest. Things were progressing very smoothly. Before they set off, Old Sun had repeatedly warned them not to enter the heart of the mountain range. Therefore, most of the students stayed in the outer area, which made it easier for them to evacuate. When the teachers came back and said that most of the students had been sent out, Old Sun was a little surprised. So fast. The students didn't go deep. Although they were scattered, it was easy to find them. Moreover, I don't know if it was because of the black heaven-swallowing python, but all the magical beasts in the forest seemed to have been summoned, so we didn't encounter any obstacles. The teachers were also very glad. Old Sun nodded, and his heart finally calmed down. How many students are still in the forest? Other than the 3 who died, all the students in our batch have left, an elder said in a low voice. Four died and one is missing. The rest have also left, another elder said with a sorrowful expression. Sun Zhongyan was silent for a moment. This time, it was likely to be the most tragic battle the academy had ever seen. If only he had known this would happen. Bai Qin, what about the new students? He suppressed his emotions and continued to ask. Bai Chen's expression was a little ugly. 2 people from Gu Mingzhu's team died. We found their corpses in the forest, but the remaining 3 are nowhere to be found. Also, there's no news about the 4 people in Chu Liuyue's team either. Sun Zhongyan was shocked. How can there be no news? The periphery is only so big. Moreover, they have a signal tube with them, so they should be able to find. He suddenly thought of something and his voice stopped abruptly. Bai Qin smiled bitterly. We've searched the other places, but there's nothing. There's only one place we haven't gone. Everyone knew where he was talking about. All their actions just now were to avoid the mountain occupied by the black heaven-swallowing python. They are very likely to be there. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone fell silent. The black heaven-swallowing python was very dangerous. If they were really there, they would be doomed. Sun Zhongyan frowned. After a moment, he said decisively, "You all leave first, I'll go there myself." Old Sun, please reconsider. That black heaven-swallowing python is extremely ferocious, and looking at the current situation, who knows what it is going to do. If you go now, won't you? I can't care so much. If there are no other places, then they can only be there. It's because the black heaven-swallowing python is too powerful that I have to go. Those students would not be able to last long under the encirclement of so many fiends. Old Sun, what if they are not there? Let's take a look first. There's no time. Sun Zhongyan shook his head. Bai Qin immediately said, I'll go with you. Si Ting stepped forward. His handsome face was calm, but there was a flash of emotion in his eyes. Master, I'm willing to go with you. Digression, Rong Xiu, as the male lead, am I not worthy of a name? Mobile users, please browse for a better reading experience from Love Network. Chapter 144. No, that place is extremely dangerous. How can you go there? Old Master's son rejected him without hesitation. Si Ting was talented and powerful, but that did not mean that he was powerful enough. If anything happened to him, what would happen to him as a teacher? Si Yang could not help but take a step forward and whisper. Big brother, are you crazy? That's a 7th grade black flying python. Do you want to die? He looked around hesitantly and spoke even more softly. It's not worth it for you to take such a risk for someone else. Even if you go, you might just be a burden to old Master's son. Si Ting was very insistent. Teacher, it's precisely because it's dangerous that I should go with you. You're my teacher. There's no reason for you to sit back and do nothing. What's more, you know how strong I am. Maybe I can help you when the time comes. Si Ting was a man of few words. Although his grades were top-notch, he was always very humble. Today, this was the first time he had said something like this. The other elders and teachers could not help but look at him. Si Yang glanced at him and knew that he could not stop him. He suddenly felt a headache coming on. Big Brother had always been decisive. Once he decided on something, he would never change his mind. If he said that he wanted to go, then he would definitely go. Others might not know why, but he knew. Wasn't it because that person was there? Si Yang sighed heavily and walked to the side. Out of sight, out of mind. Old Master's son looked at Si Ting in surprise. You really want to go? Si Ting nodded. Old Master's son was silent for a moment. Seeing his serious expression, he finally agreed. Since that's the case, follow me. The exit should be outside. Senhu knocked on the wall in front of him and wiped the sweat off his forehead. He looked delighted. Mu Hongyu took 2 steps forward and knocked on the wall like Senhu. Then, she leaned in closer to listen. The sound seems a little different from before. Mu Hongyu said uncertainly. Senhu, are you sure that the exit is outside? Of course. When I was at home, I loved to follow my father up the mountain. Although I don't know much about these things, I can tell something. Senhu patted his chest. If you open this layer of the mountain wall, you'll find that it's not the exit. You can do whatever you want with it. Seeing how confident he was, Mu Hongyu believed him. Then she looked at Gu Mingfeng. Why don't you do it? Gu Mingfeng nodded, indicating for the two to step back. He stood in front of the mountain wall with the profound formation black crystal in his hand. With a thought, he poured the force in his body into it. A faint glow suddenly lit up. That was the sign that the Xian formation was about to be activated. The surroundings were dark and silent. This radiance had become the most dazzling existence. The three of them stared at the profound formation black crystal. The golden mane bear cub moved uneasily. Mu Hongyu quickly touched its ears and hugged it even tighter. If anything went wrong later, she would be able to protect it. Gu Mingfeng's power continued to pour into the Xian formation black crystal, and the light on it became more and more brilliant. Very quickly, the outline of a Xian formation appeared. A faint wave of pressure also gradually spread out. Senhu suddenly whispered, "I wonder how Lu Yu is doing." Mu Hongyu's heart skipped a beat. Although they could vaguely sense what was going on outside, they couldn't guess what was going on. Right now, no one knew what was going on outside. She suppressed the worry in her heart and took a deep breath. Lu Yu is very strong and smart. She'll be fine. Since she said she'll see you outside, she won't go back on her words. Let's just go out and meet up with her as soon as possible. Senhu nodded his head vigorously. Yes. Buzz. A faint buzzing sound was suddenly heard. The two of them looked over and saw that the black crystal in Gu Mingfeng's hand had already formed a complete Xian formation. The light was resplendent, and the pressure was overwhelming. It's done! Senhu excitedly waved his fist. However, very quickly, the light of the profound formation suddenly weakened. Even the power that they had sensed earlier seemed to have become unstable. What's going on? Senhu's smile suddenly froze. Mu Hongyu suddenly realized something. Could it be that Gu Mingfeng's power isn't enough to activate the black crystal? Because they weren't Xian masters, they were at a disadvantage in this aspect. Warriors usually expended more energy than Xian masters to successfully activate the black crystal. But the two of us can't help him now. I've already used up all of my force, Senhu said with a bitter smile. As he spoke, the light dimmed even more. Mu Hongyu weakly closed her eyes. If only I had already broken through to become a stage 4 warrior. If that was the case, there wouldn't be a problem. Lu Yu left his trump card to them and went out alone to face the danger, but they still couldn't succeed. The atmosphere became stiff and cold. Buzz buzz. The faint buzzing sound was heard again. Mu Hongyu and Senhu were both stunned. They realized that Gu Mingfeng's aura had suddenly increased. The black crystal in front of him shone even brighter. Mu Hongyu widened her eyes. Senhu couldn't help but curse. F*CK. Gu Mingfeng, you F*King broke through to become a stage 4 warrior long ago? Boom. A terrifying power suddenly erupted from the black Xian formation crystal. Chu Luiwei gritted her teeth and stood up again, walking forward. She walked very slowly as blood continued to flow from her body. Every step she took would leave a shocking bloody footprint on the ground behind her. The black flying python looked down at her indifferently, and the murderous intent in its eyes grew stronger. Chu Liuyue's unwillingness to admit defeat had completely enraged it. But the more it was like this, the more it was unwilling to kill her. Chu Luiyue finally stopped. Then she bent down and tried to bring the little thing that was lying on the ground, motionless. Up close, its body seemed to be trembling slightly from breathing. It was obviously still alive. Chu Luiyue immediately heaved a sigh of relief. Although it wasn't her demon beast, she didn't want it to die because of her. Especially at the last critical moment, it chose to stand with her. Just as Chu Luiyue's hand was about to touch it, a powerful wave suddenly swept over. Chu Luiyue was sent flying again. This time, the black flying python finally moved. It flapped its wings and quickly flew towards Chu Luiyue. Then, it opened its bloody mouth as if it could swallow the heavens and the earth. Chu Luiwei almost fainted from this blow, and she only relied on her last bit of willpower to stay awake. But when she spat out a mouthful of blood and forced her eyes open, she saw cold and sharp teeth. The black flying python was already in front of her, and it planned to swallow her. Chu Luiwei instinctively wanted to dodge, but she realized that half of her body was numb and she couldn't move at all. A trace of arrogance and mockery flashed across those vertical pupils. The weak could only be slaughtered. Chu Luiwei clenched her teeth. She couldn't die here. Buzz. The water droplet in her dantian suddenly started spinning. Mobile users, please browse for a better reading experience from Love Network. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.